So I'll count it off.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3.
Just let's go.
1, 2, 3, go.
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome, folks. Welcome back to the rehearsal room. Nick here.
Aaron's here.
I don't know why I still do the countdown thing.
Not
needed, but
old habits are hard to break.
they are. Yeah. Welcome back to the rehearsal room. We're gonna. This one's a little bit more of a current kind of topic, I think. Right?
To some degree, yeah. That's certainly one. It's an idea I've kind of been spitballing in my head, and one that trying to figure out the best way to kind of present it, and then something presented itself that kind of helped me kind of coalesce it into maybe more of a topic of itself to me in my head.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. Do you want to kind of introduce?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A thing I'm kind of always or have been kind of intrigued by is our perception of what is mainstream or what is popular, or just how our perspectives obviously affect how we see things.
Yeah.
And certainly in popularity when it comes to music, and how with the death of the monoculture, in a lot of ways we gather more in our bubbles and we don't necessarily explore outside of them, so certain things may seem bigger or smaller than they actually are.
Right.
And so kind of looking at popularity and how we gauge it, how it's changed even. That's something I learned doing a lot of this, kind of the research I was looking into. I do my own research, as you all know. So that definitely, I think that perspective, I learned a lot from it. Certain things that I definitely went in thinking I may have changed, but also things kind of expanded on things that I kind of thought were that way anyway. But yeah, the idea of popularity, especially I think even to some degree, when you're into conceivably underground types of music or small niche types of music, what you consider mainstream, you might be a little skewed based on where you kind of are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just kind of, when you take a look at some numbers, how that can maybe change your perspective in general. And that's kind of where this was kind of the impetus of this, where it first started, if you will. My son was complaining about somebody that he worked with, saying they were like into indie rock, but the bands they were naming were, in his mind, like really super popular bands, not ones that you would call necessarily indie rock. One of which being, the only one I can really remember because it struck me so hard, was Arctic Monkeys.
Okay.
And I remember saying to him, like, Arctic Monkeys, they're definitely in it. The guys had like a hit in like the early 2000s, you look good on the dance floor. Nobody's heard of them since. And he just looked at me like, hey, old man, I think you might want to look that up, And, you go on, an easy one to look at that point was Spotify. Let's see how many listeners they got.
Sure.
And you're like, holy shit. It's 55 million a month.
Yeah.
There, and we'll eventually get to it, but, they're, I think, out of the top 50 most streamed bands on Spotify in the year 2025, they were 46. And I just...
Not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. So it was definitely one of those things where I go like, wow, my perspective just completely got changed on what I knew of the Arctic Monkeys as opposed to what they actually are.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it began. And then it was, as far as heavy metal is concerned, where this came to. And obviously before we recorded this episode many weeks ago, I brought this to your attention because I thought it was interesting, and we were talking about it enough that I thought, okay, good. I'm not the only one who's interested in this.
Yeah.
Sometimes something might strike you as interesting that everybody else just goes, yeah, dummy, I don't know what the fuck you're talking. But no, you were definitely like, oh yeah, that's interesting.
That's
and,
like 99% of my conversations.
Tell me about it. Believe me. Isn't that interesting? And everybody looks at you like a crazy fucking person.
They're like, yeah.
But it came from a guy. He's a video blogger. And again, I want to make sure I'm not a huge fan of him. I don't watch him all the time, but I like his stuff. He usually has some opinions that definitely make me scratch my head, make me think, and I appreciate that unto itself.
Sure.
It's called Heavy Metal Philosophy. Barbarous, John Barbarous is his name. He's got a YouTube channel, and he does 20, 30 minute videos. He's a metalhead, and these are the things I'm thinking, or these are the ways I see stuff. Sometimes he gives out monthly lessons and so forth.
Right.
And he did an episode essentially stating, with Megadeth putting out their last album, it marks the beginning of the decline of the subgenre of heavy metal.
Right.
That it will become an underground kind of genre, which I thought, okay, that's an interesting take. That heavy metal as we know it now, as he defined it, was using those bottom four strings. Ozzy Osbourne, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden type heavy metal.
Right. Where basically, instead of using the what is essentially on a guitar, the lower two,
Thank you.
aka the heavier strings.
Yes.
You're using all six.
There you go.
Right, where you're playing noodly stuff.
Absolutely.
You're being not so much a guitar virtuoso, but
I would correct me on the phrasing, but like harmonics, melody, stuff like that. Not as much chugging.
Right. So even with that, I had a little bit of a
Well, and I get his point in the sense of like, if you're looking for contemporary bands that are playing a heavy, what we would consider the genre of, not the overarching umbrella, but the genre of heavy metal.
like classic heavy metal sound.
There aren't a whole lot that are on the level of, say, a Maiden, Priest, Megadeth right now. There are plenty of bands doing it.
Right.
In fact, the Sumerian, you just recently played with two of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That are clearly playing that classic
Right.
heavy metal sound. And God knows they sell records, they're doing good, but they're not on that level. And that's kind of what he said. Oh, okay. But the thing that struck me the most was the part where he said, and then we will see that heavy metal for the first time will become a fully underground genre
right.
and not a mainstream genre, which he claimed from the beginning of heavy metal, i.e. Black Sabbath, in his opinion, which I wouldn't necessarily argue, although we have said many times on this podcast, no one person ever invents anything.
Right.
But saying since the impetus of Black Sabbath, metal has always been mainstream. And that really struck me. And I thought, maybe our definitions of mainstream are very different. And when you look at some numbers, and God knows I got plenty of them, which is a lot for a guy who barely knows math without taking his shoes off to count past 10. I think the numbers bear that out, that what we perceive sometimes as mainstream as a metal fan is really not as mainstream as we think it is.
It's not. Even without
Please.
the use of numbers.
Yeah.
And you mentioned a little bit ago, you mentioned the monoculture kind of going away.
Right.
I think a lot of that has to do, again, with the advent of the internet.
No doubt.
Right? With the availability of recording gear,
Yes.
Instrumentation and stuff like that being a lot easier. That I think plays tremendously into this. Right?
And it's interesting that you say that, because he also did, and again, I'm not promoting his thing. It's just to say,
I mean,
these are things where it's just interesting because he, like many people, including ours, did a kind of rebuttal on the is metal dead, is rock dead thing.
Right.
And one of the things he pointed out was he really does believe that metal's in probably its best place it's ever been.
Yes.
And on top of which, that it's smaller in areas because people can find their niche and stay in it.
Okay.
That, like what you're saying, the monoculture is going away. The internet has made it so it's not so much that it's less, but it's smaller bubbles that people are in, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, there's still 3 million of us. It's just now 3 million of us are spread out further than we would have been 5 years ago, when there were perhaps 6 major metal bands that everybody would have been into.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's so many subgenres now, and like you said, the availability of music and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So it is kind of interesting that he said that, but then feels like, especially some of the examples he gave, one of the things that he included was hair metal. Now, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be an elitist here, but at some point, we have to draw a line on what is and isn't metal. And hair metal is not fucking metal.
Well, I have a significant other who would probably argue that.
Listen, I'm not saying there aren't things that I don't like, and I'm not saying there aren't tinges of metal in some of them. Skid Row, I like some Skid Row.
Sure.
Tesla is not fucking heavy. Look,
are these examples he gave on the show?
He said yes. He said what he went through was the idea of, since its inception, i.e. Black Sabbath, metal has always been mainstream.
Right.
Including the bands that came after, which are Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, bands that were their contemporaries like Blue Oyster Cult and Deep Purple. Okay, these are examples again. I remember these because I went and looked up the numbers on these bands because if these are the examples you're using, well, then let's compare and contrast, right?
Sure.
He then goes into, and then through bands like Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, births thrash metal, where he says, now granted, it started as an underground genre, but it birthed easily the single biggest heavy metal band of all time.
Sure.
Right. When they weren't
Anthrax.
thrash anymore.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I'm the man. But it's like, yeah, they birthed it when it wasn't thrash anymore.
Right.
So you can't include Metallica when they weren't thrash anymore to say it birthed the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And on top of which, I think the numbers would shock a lot of people, at least numbers that I find. Let me be clear on that. Look, I am not the master of research here. I found several sites, one in particular, but I would cross-reference it with like a Wikipedia or a band site if they had numbers on record sales.
Yeah.
I think people would be very surprised to find out the number of record sales that the big four actually ever had.
Well, let's
comparatively.
Also, let's not forget that the big four are only considered the big four because financially they were the biggest four sellers of that style of music.
Oh, and believe me, when you as you say that, you say to yourself, well, then we got to be talking about some numbers that I think you're going to be really surprised that they aren't the numbers you're probably thinking.
Oh yeah,
of.
I am in no way I'm in no way of the mind that like in whatever era they started being called the big four that they were selling millions upon millions.
Oh, I'm telling you right now. I mean, again, we'll get to it. The only ones that sold millions are Metallica and Megadeth.
Right.
And Megadeth barely made it over 1 million.
Okay, yeah. See, so like even that,
right,
for that to be enough to put you at the very top of the mountain, right? Like,
what does that say about the mountain?
Exactly.
Now, and again, please understand, as we go along and I get to some of these numbers,
sure,
I am not in any way diminishing these numbers because these are still pretty amazing.
Of course.
One of the things that I really am kind of blown away by is certainly bands back in the day really did not have to sell a shit ton of records to call it a career, especially as rock bands who were willing to tour.
Yeah.
Bands who have massive hits, radio fucking hits to this day, who didn't sell 1 million records on any of the records they've ever put out,
right?
But never had a day job. So that says quite a bit, you know. And I think the other thing I learned by looking through these is how the industry really has changed in terms of how they see record sales. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In terms of what becomes mainstream, what becomes popular, so on and so forth. So his inclusion of hair metal, I'm sorry, I gotta. He then goes into saying, and while thrash is going on, hair metal is the darlings of MTV. I hear you, dude, but nobody says, man, do I love metal like Metallica, Judas Priest, Poison, Warrant. Like, no. People don't include... You have to draw a line. I'm sorry. Poison, like, I went and said, what do I believe to be the 4 biggest hair metal bands, okay?
Yeah.
To me, in my personal feeling, I went with Motley Crue,
Okay.
Guns N' Roses,
Okay.
Def Leppard, and Bon Jovi.
Interesting.
Okay? Now, no doubt about it. You talk about some record sales. Remember, Appetite for Destruction is the 30th best-selling album of all time with 30 million records sold.
Yeah.
Okay? That's huge.
Sure.
Okay? But we all remember, like, when that album came out, you couldn't escape it.
Right.
Okay? Now you look at Def Leppard. They're 45th all time with Hysteria. 25 million. That's huge.
Sure.
But think about either one of those albums. Does anyone call those metal albums? Especially like Hysteria. That's literally when they'll even tell you they went pop.
Yeah. I also think, especially with the ones you listed off there, 3 of those 4 I would have called hard rock.
Absolutely. I definitely listen, I think all hair metal bands. Here's I thought about this. How would I delineate if I were to delineate? Tell me the difference between hair metal and metal then, Aaron. Okay, here's how I would kind of delineate.
Yeah.
Metal bands take from Sabbath and move forward. Hair metal bands are taking from Led Zeppelin and Aerosmith and moving forward.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Tonality, they're trying to be Led Zeppelin. They're trying to be Aerosmith. they're not looking to be Black Sabbath.
Right.
I'm not saying they don't
Right.
like Black Sabbath. As we know, Guns N' Roses played the Ozzy thing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they don't like Black Sabbath, but that's clearly not an influence on their music that you can hear.
Right. Right.
Where Zeppelin and I'm forgetting their
The
name
other
because I
one?
fucking hate them. Aerosmith,
Aerosmith.
clear as day that this is clearly who they're all. I mean, that's one of the things they would say about Guns N' Roses, right? It's like a little bit like Aerosmith. It's like Rolling Stones. It's
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? So, I mean, when you look at stuff like Bon Jovi, like Jersey sold 19 million, and their next one is 18. And it's a compilation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, like that's what people are buying. Dr. Feelgood, Motley Crue, right?
Yeah.
Dr. Feelgood, 6 million. Now, again, that's nothing to sneeze at. But
No,
when
of
we
course
start
not.
getting into other albums, 6 million is nothing comparatively.
Sure. Sure.
Again, because to me, it's about perspective.
Right.
You know, like one of the things I meant to start with this because just to show you, like, I love these things because this is about perspective in every way. I know you've probably heard this. Many of our listeners have, I'm sure. But just to show you what I mean when it comes to how I see perspective, and I think this is a great example. When people ask, what's the difference between $1 million and $1 billion, right? So if I told you to count 1 million seconds, it would take you 11 and a half days.
Right.
If I told you to count 1 billion seconds, it would take you 31.7 years.
Yeah.
Like, I saw another one that said, if you stacked $1 million by hundreds, it would be 33 feet high. If you did the same with $1 billion, it's the Washington Monument. Do you understand what like now you can visualize that and
course.
understand like
Yeah, yeah.
holy shit. So I think that that's when he says metal being mainstream, like the hair metal thing. I'm sorry, I push back completely. You're wrong. You don't get to include hair metal if we're talking about metal. To me, it feels like when you say that, you're like shoehorning in something just to prove your point. Because hair metal.
I also think with the inclusion of that, I mean, I honestly don't even know why he did that originally.
It feels weird because it just feels shoehorned in because I don't think anybody really thinks ultimately that those bands are metal bands.
Right.
Hard rock bands, abso-fucking-lutely.
Sure.
Tesla, Cinderella, all those bands, they're rock bands. They're
Sure.
hard rock bands even. It's kind of like, I know one that gets bounced around from time to time is AC/DC.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Now, I know there are people who go, well, in my day, they were called metal. I understand that, but genres change. And as they solidify, we look back and realize, no. Is AC/DC highly influential? Fuck yes.
Sure.
But are they a metal band? Absolutely not. They don't even call themselves a metal band.
Right. Right.
You know? Now, I know if we go by that standard, then technically Motorhead's not a metal band. Sorry, Lemmy, but you're a fucking metal band. But,
Yeah.
you know, but the point is to say is like, again, AC/DC, not a metal band.
Yeah.
But they're not a hair metal band either. They're a hard rock band.
I also think the hair metal thing is more aesthetic,
For sure.
right?
Yes. That's
Where-
why there is no more hair metal. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Because
It's not a genre that lasted.
Yeah, and because when you look at the thing that took it away or whatever was just a different aesthetic,
Right.
you know, and
Yes.
and that would we
Yeah,
can
that-
get into the
for
one
sure.
of the who changed it and why and all
But
that shit
musically, what hair metal sounds like with some bands
Yeah.
never went away.
later. And exactly.
Like that's why Bon
Exactly.
Jovi could take off the makeup and the frizzy hair and still
Yep.
continue with with just being a rock band and have a career.
I mean, Kiss did it too.
Yes,
Right. And
exactly.
then
So
they realized they were too ugly to be without makeup.
right, and they
then-
really need to put the makeup back
yeah,
on.
yeah.
You know, but again, yeah, it's just to say, and again, that's one I definitely push back on.
Sure.
But overall, the idea that metal has ever been mainstream. Again, maybe it's semantics. Maybe I'm arguing. You know, I'm splitting hairs here. But I feel like if you're gonna put words out there, words have definitions. We need to be able to say what mainstream is. And the reality is, when you look at, and let's be honest, how else do you kind of check this out other than record sales, right? I mean, I don't know another way to necessarily put it in kind of a perspective. I know now record sales are, and we'll get to that, is not. But even then, when you start looking at certain people, realizing what record sales are now and what they're achieving,
Yeah.
holy shit. You know what I mean? But like, just for instance, so he says, from the inception, i.e. Black Sabbath, mainstream. Okay. So
Okay.
we're talking 1970.
Right.
Now, as anybody knows, especially if you're a huge Sabbath fan, technically they have two records that come out in 1970.
1970. Yeah.
It's the self-titled and Paranoid.
Yeah.
Now, Paranoid technically does not hit America until 1971, but nonetheless, okay? So Black Sabbath's Paranoid is actually their best-selling album all time, and it's not even close. Now, if you really think about this, why is that? Because it has the singles.
Yeah.
Paranoid, Iron Man, we're done here.
Yep.
Paranoid is literally a radio single in every sense of the word. A killer one,
Sure.
one of the greats all time. Don't get me wrong, I'm not shitting on it. But you go, of course it sold more. You couldn't play anything on Black Sabbath on a radio. The songs are all 7 minutes,
Right.
you know? So, and again, taking nothing away from the almighty Black Sabbath, of course people heard that song, but that's fucking great, and went out and bought it. By the way, you couldn't really buy singles for the most part, right? So you had to buy the record.
Yep.
So at best, the best number I can find with them, and again, some stuff is a little more solid, some stuff isn't, because that's another thing we have to kind of make sure. I know you know this. Most of our audience probably does too. Another thing to remember is album sales and the way they were figured out early on before SoundScan,
Yeah.
very fishy, to say
Of
the
course.
least.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it was about radio play. It was about certain other things. Then you called record stores and just said, what's the best-selling album this week?
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, what if I fucking hate Black Sabbath and I just go, oh, it's Bruce Springsteen or it's fucking The Doors because I
Right.
don't like, you know what I mean? I can say anything, you know what I mean? SoundScan really changed the game, but we'll go with the numbers that I could find.
Okay.
So their number one best-selling album, again, Paranoid, somewhere between 9 and 12 million records sold. Now, that is nothing to sneeze at. 9 to
between
12.
9 to 12. All right. So for sake of
Please.
argument,
Yes.
let's just say 11 million.
11 million. We'll
Right.
go with that. Okay. That's fucking massive.
That is. Yeah.
Okay, that's an achievement. Good for them. But just to give you, put it again in perspective, because
Yeah.
that's what I like.
This is what I was gonna ask.
By the way,
here.
the third best-selling record of 1970.
This is what I was gonna ask.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what Paranoid was. Okay,
Yeah.
but their next biggest selling album is Masters of Reality, 2 million.
Okay.
That's quite a drop off.
Sure.
Okay, now that same year, the number one best-selling record of 1970, Simon and Garfunkel's Bridge Over Troubled Water.
Hell yeah.
25 million.
Yep.
This is 1970.
Yeah.
Okay. Number two, Led Zeppelin's 3 with 13 million.
Wow. Okay.
Now, they're in hollowed ground there to be 3 behind those two.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Again,
Yeah.
I am not shitting on any of these achievements because they all are achievements.
Of course. Yeah.
But it is to put it in perspective. 11 million compared to 25.
That's a.
That's
I mean,
a drastic difference.
yeah.
you know?
That's a double Washington Monument.
There you go. Right? Exactly. I have no idea how long it would take me to count to 25 million.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
I don't have enough toes
You
or
know?
fingers for that.
Now, and again, to their credit, that year of the top 5, they beat out the Beatles
Yeah.
and Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young with Deja Vu and Let It Be.
Okay.
Hey, dude, to beat those two out, good for you, Black Sabbath. But your next best-selling album is literally like 10 to 9 million less.
Yeah.
Now,
And how many years difference also, right?
what do you mean?
From
From them to Masters of Reality, I think it would have been 1 or 2 at the very best. Because remember, at that time, it was like they were putting
One
out a
a
record a
year.
year
Yeah,
practically.
right.
So,
So-
yeah, so essentially, everybody loved the single.
right.
Ran out and bought the album, and then the new album came out and was a little heavier, as we all know. Masters of Reality, many people point as for Stoner, for Sludge, for True Doom,
Yep.
blah 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 blah. Obviously, didn't appeal to enough people, and God, I don't know what was the single. Couldn't play Sweet Leaf,
Right.
so
Right.
what was the single? You know what I mean? Remember, Paranoid is such a big hit prior to the album coming out. That's why the cover makes no sense.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yes.
That's how big Paranoid was. You know?
I also think maybe in thinking that
Mhm.
Black Sabbath were mainstream,
Mhm.
it's because of the exposure that they had.
Oh, definitely.
Especially that first year.
And they're on it. Remember, they're on Warner Brothers. That's a huge label, especially
Right.
here in America at the time.
Right. So when you started up a band at that time,
Mhm.
maybe the only way to put your music out and have it be widely available
Mhm.
was to go for the bigger label deal.
Absolutely.
Right. And the fact
Absolutely.
that they put out 2 albums in essentially the 1 year.
Right.
I mean, that helps.
Oh,
right?
and Black Sabbath, I believe, if I remember correctly, we're looking at overall worldwide.
Yeah.
The site that and to tell people where I mainly looked, it's called bestsellingalbums.org was the number one place I used. But I also cross-referenced it, like I said, with bands' websites, if they had information, Wikipedia,
Sure.
anywhere I could find to try to get a roundabout number. For the most part, I think that bestsellingalbums.org is pretty good.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I didn't find too many discrepancies. They were better with older bands than they were with newer bands. There's no doubt about that.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And that does make some sense, you know?
Also, that plays into what we're talking about here. I'll bring it back to that.
Please.
Yeah.
It's just to say, again, perspective is everything. And again, I'm not shitting on that achievement. That is
Right.
huge.
Yeah.
But Black Sabbath, the idea that they were ever a mainstream band, I find that hard to believe when they're barely beating out anyone else for the rest of their career.
I agree. Yeah.
And I just go, okay. So then he says, well, including their contemporaries. Okay, let's look at the contemporaries that he listed. Not me, he listed.
Right.
All right. Obviously, this one, we all know. Led Zeppelin. Okay,
Sure.
come on. I don't think I have to tell people. We all know what their best-selling album is. It's got the biggest song that's ever fucking been written called Stairway. So it's 70.
Right.
It's Zeppelin 4, obviously.
Yeah.
And again, I love Zeppelin. I'm a big fan. I definitely love them. I always love Sabbath more, but I love Zeppelin.
Sure.
37 million. It's the best-selling album of 1971.
Okay.
Okay? And it, I believe, ranks somewhere in the best-selling albums of all time.
Okay.
Okay, obviously, right?
Sure.
Zeppelin 2 is their second with 15.9. Now, 15.9 from 37 million,
That's also a drop off.
big time.
Yeah.
And it was a prior album.
Oh,
It's their second album.
Yeah.
It's not till their fourth that everybody and their brother buys it. Right?
Yeah.
So he said, other contemporaries, Deep Purple. Now, this one really did blow me away in two ways, and I'll get to that. When you think Deep Purple, let's be honest, right? It's the riff, right?
Right.
Everybody knows that riff. It is, they always say, it's the one you first learn when you play guitar, on and on, right? It is the riff of riffs. Even though I love Tony Iommi, the reality is Smoke on the Water is the riff of riffs.
Yeah.
That album that it's on is Machine Head.
Yeah.
2.8 million sales.
Wow. That's still a lot.
It's a lot, but you go, only two?
Yeah.
I mean, Deep Purple are a pillar rock band that have helped shape heavy metal, hard rock, everything else.
One of the staples.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Pure respect for that band.
Sure.
And you would think, well, that's got Smoke on the Water, for fuck's sakes, at least double-digit million. No,
Yeah.
no. And their second best album, Made in Japan, so a live album, which they always had a reputation of being one of the great live bands.
Sure.
So that probably tracks. It's 2 million.
Hmm.
Again, what I also learned was after that one, almost every album after that, you're talking less than 1 million copies sold.
Yeah.
But what it also showed me, and as we get to these other bands, you'll see this even more. How times have changed, maybe. So you did not have to be Led Zeppelin, and you could be a touring band and make a fucking career out of it. Because God knows, Deep Purple, Ian Gillan, and the rest of them ain't digging ditches. They've never had a day job. You know what I mean?
This is also a time frame when labels threw money at bands.
Fuck. Remember, the whole Smoke on the Water is they rented the fucking van thing to record them playing, and it caught on fire. The whole,
Yeah, yeah.
they're literally describing this thing that they paid for, and on and on and on. And it's like literally burning money.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, the fact that Black Sabbath could write a whole album and dedicate some of it to the usage of, one of the illicit drugs that they were taking during the recording of said
Yes.
album. It's like, come on, like,
I mean, look, they were on the road, and it was literally like, this album's doing well. We need to get you back in the studio, start writing. And by the way, we've got like 4 minutes left on the tape. Do you guys have anything?
yeah.
And the god of all riffs went, give me a second, and then comes back with Paranoid.
Yeah.
Which was album filler, ultimately.
Ultimately, that's what it is.
They wrote
Yeah.
it the day of. And remember, the first album was recorded in 12 hours. I think the second one is 16.
I just heard something,
Please.
not to distract too much, after they recorded the first album, they
Mhm.
went and played a show that night.
I'm sure, dude. I'm sure of it.
Which is nuts,
It's
right?
insane. It's insane. But this is the old days.
Sure.
But then again, it also showed if you were willing to take the ride, look what could happen.
Exactly.
You didn't have to necessarily sell 50 million copies, and
Right.
you were looked at. You could do this. You
Yeah.
could move. Okay. So again, his contemporaries, the bands he named.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, so we'll go with Blue Oyster Cult. I mean, my God, you talk about mainstream, even I would say crossover hits.
Yeah.
Blue Oyster Cult's I'm Burning for You and Don't Fear the Reaper. Those are crossover rock songs.
Yeah. Yeah.
You may not even, there are people who probably don't even know who sings those songs, and they can sing every word.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a karaoke staple. It was on Rock Band. I mean, these are major, major songs.
Yeah. Are
And-
these also, would they be technically jock jams as well? Because a
I
lot
don't know
of
about a song
songs-
with suicide necessarily being a job. They don't have the riff, I don't think. Godzilla might be.
Godzilla, yeah. Maybe Burning for You.
Maybe, but definitely not.
Not Fear the
not Fear the
Reaper.
Reaper.
Right,
No.
yeah.
But okay, major band, right?
Sure.
By the way, you talk about a band that's never had a day job. They've definitely never had a day job. Now they ain't playing stadiums. You may see them where you buy funnel cake,
Yeah.
but at
yeah.
the same time, they're not digging ditches.
No, yeah. They're,
So
yeah.
Agents of Fortune is the album that Don't Fear the Reaper is on.
Right.
But I would say by far their most popular album. But you would just assume just because of Don't Fear the Reaper. Worldwide, through what I could see, 1 million.
Wow. That's,
And their second album, that's same amount of number, Some Enchanted Evening. I don't even know what that album is, and I don't know what's on that thing. And they sold 1 million on that one.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So now we go to, okay, Judas Priest.
All right.
All right. Now, again, we are not fans, but we would be lying if we didn't say, like, Judas Priest is one of the stalwarts of heavy metal. They laid the foundation along with Iron Maiden and Black Sabbath, and everything that we love is built upon bands like that.
Sure.
Okay? Now, this kind of threw me because, again, as not a Priest fan, I would have guessed a different album, but okay.
Yeah.
Their number one album, Screaming for Vengeance,
Okay.
2.1 million. Hey, that's nothing to shake a stick at.
No.
2.1 million is a lot of fucking records, especially when you are essentially one of maybe 20 metal bands at that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you're doing pretty damn good. Remember, heavy metal's still in its fucking infancy at this point in a lot of ways.
What years?
I don't know. I should have written that down. I am sorry for that one.
Okay.
Their second best was the one I thought would be number one, which is British Steel,
Okay.
which has the singles on it.
Yeah.
That's with 1.1 million. I believe You Got Another Thing Coming is on British Steel.
Okay.
And it's only 1.1 million. And yet I know that song.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fan. So, excuse me. The other one, Iron Maiden. No doubt about it. Hugely successful. Again, one of the stalwarts.
Yeah.
Best selling albums, probably the one most people would guess, Number of the Beast. 2 million. Massive. Huge. Way to
Sure.
go. Congratulations. It has clearly set them up for years to come. Their second would have been Peace of Mind at 1.8 million.
Hmm.
Now, again, these are not numbers to sneeze at in any way, shape, or form.
No. Yeah.
But these numbers don't even compare with some of the top artists now
Right. Yeah.
when no one's buying records.
Well, we think that.
Well, and
Right.
again, yes, there is a little bit, but and as we get further down the line, yes, we will talk that.
We think that, but there are maybe numbers that will prove us wrong.
Well, there's definitely numbers that the way they are counting them now, at least what I learned,
Yeah.
is a little. I get it. You have to adapt with the times.
Sure.
But yeah, you're a little like, really? Those count as album sales now?
Right.
So,
yeah.
that is something to definitely think about. So again, I mean, one thing you can definitely say for sure with all those bands is they're definitely selling albums
Sure. Yeah.
because you can't get it any other way. You know what I mean? Like, you're not bootlegging it. You're not maybe bootleg, but you're not. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I think also I think I'm kind of stuck in the argument of what mainstream and underground is, because
please, no, go ahead.
while Black Sabbath and all these other bands that you mentioned
Sure.
sold millions upon millions,
yeah.
There are also these are the bands that maybe pushed themselves a little bit more than the other bands that we didn't hear of.
Oh,
you know?
for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Like-
there's luck involved. Look. Judas Priest plays it. Iron Maiden didn't. Cal Jam.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
How much
I mean,
exposure did that give them?
Black Sabbath?
Black
played
Sabbath
that, right?
played that.
So,
How much exposure does that give them where more people are going to get turned on to their music?
right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Quiet Riot probably sold a lot of records too, but they didn't last.
Right.
You know what I
right.
mean? You never know with management. I remember hearing a story one time. It was like, Dawkins talking about, we actually had the same management that Metallica had. And
Oh,
they were
yeah.
telling us, like, hey,
Yeah.
get rid of the hairnet thing. You got a good guitar player. You guys can play good music. And they were like, fuck you. We see what Motley Crue's doing. We're doing what Motley Crue's doing.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the guys manage Metallica, and you go, that could have been you. Maybe, you know?
Yeah.
So, yes, there's a lot of factors, but please continue.
No, I was just, all these underground bands that,
Mm-hmm.
well, I don't even want to say underground. All these not well-known
Yeah,
bands at the time, that didn't get that big push or whatever. Maybe they saw what bands like Black Sabbath
Mhm.
and Judas Priest were doing,
Mhm.
and they probably thought at that time, like, hey, man, we do that a lot better than these bands,
Oh,
right? Like,
certainly possible. I mean, again, the new wave of British heavy metal introduces a ton of bands. Diamond Head
Sure.
was a great band. It just, whatever happened didn't happen for them.
right?
Right? You never know. I mean, Blue Cheer, great band. How many
Blue
bands
Cheer.
taken away from Blue Cheer? MC5 should have probably been bigger.
A lot of
You
these
know?
bands also got way more recognition after the fact.
Well, including our beloved Black Sabbath. Let's
including,
be completely
of course,
clear here.
of course,
Rolling Stone did not like them.
right?
They didn't
right,
like Led Zeppelin either.
right.
So that's another one. You're absolutely correct. So the idea that Black Sabbath's Paranoid sold 9 million records to 14, we'll go with 11.
Yeah.
When Rolling Stone was shitting on them, says a lot.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
people went, I don't fucking care. I love that sound. I want more of that. So again, I'm not taking away. This is about perspective. And and when you look at, again, what's going on around them,
yeah,
when Black Sabbath can hang their hat and say Paranoid just sold 11 million for the year, we're the third best-selling album of the year. Hey,
Yeah.
fuck yeah. Hold that head up high.
for sure.
But understand the number one sold 25 million albums.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, so then we will progress. So he mentions, then along comes an underground genre at first called thrash that produces the greatest, the most popular metal band of all time. But how did they become popular? Because that is important.
sure.
They became popular by essentially, for lack of a better phrase, selling out.
Right.
They stopped being the Metallica that we all knew. They went
I mean,
for. Go ahead.
in those first 4 albums,
Yes,
they morphed
absolutely.
a couple of times.
No doubt about it.
Right?
No doubt
So-
about it. Even we've discussed this amongst our own peers. Calling them thrash, even by the time they get to Master of Puppets, is kind of I don't know anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no doubt. There's that is
I
a
have-
discussion to be had.
I have definitely argued that they have one thrash album,
Yeah.
new wave of British heavy metal like rip-off album,
Yeah.
and then mixed,
Yeah.
on a couple other ones.
Again, it's very, but I always think to myself, that was always the plan. I don't think
Sure.
they wanted to just be a thrash band.
I don't think so.
You know what I mean? So, and I get that. But with the Black Album, it was very clear that they wanted to do more smaller, compact,
Yep.
metallic sounding songs. And yes, I think it's a metal album, but it is not the Metallica that came before.
Right.
So obviously they skew the numbers a little when you look at the big four.
Sure. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Just say the least. Sorry. So you're talking about Metallica's Metallica,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Metallica's Metallica, or the Black Album, however you wish to call it, sold 33 million copies worldwide.
Yeah.
It is the 15th best-selling album of all time. In 1991, it was the best-selling album of the year worldwide. Number 2 was a little band called Nirvana with Nevermind with 30 million.
Wow.
Okay. Now remember living in that time, because I know you do.
Yeah.
Did it feel like they were neck and neck?
Not at all.
Right? It felt like, yeah, Metallica's selling a lot of records if you're into metal, but the real sensation is Nirvana. And if you're not down with that, You're getting left behind, everybody.
Right.
And yet they were 3 million behind what Metallica final tallies, if you will.
Yeah.
And that number may have already changed, So, again, I apologize. The next biggest album for Metallica is Justice for All
Okay.
with 11 million. Quite a drop off from 33.
Yeah.
Should not come as a shocker. Not in the top 50 best second selling records of all time.
Yeah.
I don't know if I needed to say that, but I felt I needed just in case.
Just to rub it in.
I'm just saying, like again, it shows you the change they made
Yeah.
and how it really did affect their record sales. And again, there are many other factors. When you start looking at, and again, we'll get there. When you really start looking at best-selling records of all time, it's very interesting because there are some that everybody will go, well, hell yeah. And there are others that, unless you were of that generation, you go, huh?
Right. Right.
So sometimes people just capture a moment in time, and for whatever reason, that album sells.
Yeah.
Go up, I think Metallica kind of did both in when it comes to the Black Album. So, the big four. Here we go.
Okay.
I'll save Megadeth for last since that's where he started. Okay. Anthrax. Their best-selling album, according to what I could find, was their I'm the Man EP that sold 1 million copies. Now, what's on that EP? It's Bring the Noise.
Right. Yeah.
Still probably their biggest song as far as
Ever?
mainstream, however you wish to, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, that is their biggest song. Everybody knows that because it was a crossover hit because you had Public Enemy with it. And hip-hop was huge at that time.
Yeah.
Their second one is State of Euphoria with 610,000 sales.
That's a big drop off.
It's a huge drop-off.
It's almost half.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, again, nothing to sneeze at.
No.
Also shows in that genre especially, that's pretty damn good because I imagine Testament and Exodus and a lot of great other thrash bands never got close to that number. But more importantly, also showed me, again, the guys in Anthrax have never had regular jobs.
Right. Yeah.
Like, they were willing to be road dogs and go out and put out good records and then, well, I don't think so, but put out a record and then go tour it. And they were successful because of it.
Yeah.
And it shows me a different time in when it comes to how record labels may have looked at bands.
Yeah.
So, our Almighty Slayer. This one was a little bit of a surprise. The number one selling album for them, according to what I could find, South of Heaven.
Yeah.
Not Rain and Blood. Was 600,000 copies.
600,000.
600,000.
All right.
Again, this is the big four.
Right. Yeah. Again,
Please.
the financial big four.
Absolutely.
Right. So this is with these numbers, the 600,000 Slayer, 600,000 roughly Anthrax.
Yeah.
Is this all the same year, 1991?
No.
right?
This is just overall. This
Overall,
is just,
okay.
I looked at their best-selling album and their second
so
best.
overall, Metallica. I'm assuming
it's
Megadeth
not even-
is going to be the second.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely, yeah.
And okay,
But
all
even their numbers, you will see, drastically fall off.
right. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Okay, like Metallica kind of skews it in a way that you can't really. It's almost worth taking out Metallica's Metallica
Sure.
to kind of keep it a little more fair.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
even then, Justice is still 11 million.
That's a lot.
That's
Yeah.
a lot,
That is a
dude.
lot. I'm
Please.
okay.
Please.
Is that 11 million on year of release?
No, that's overall sales.
overall.
Overall sales is what
Gotcha.
I'm giving you with all of these.
Okay,
This
all
is
right.
overall sales.
And still Slayer 600,000 overall.
From what I could find, yes, they've
Wow.
never had a platinum album with 1 million sales. Never once.
Wow. All
Yeah.
right.
So the next ones for them, which again I was surprised because I would have thought Rain and Blood. No, Divine Intervention and Seasons actually tied at 550,000.
Look at that.
Yeah. Which
Okay.
again, the other thing you see in something like Slayer, and you do see it even in Blue Oyster Cult, you see it in not Machine Head, Deep Purple, you
Yeah.
see it in Anthrax, you see it in a lot of these events. It's consistency.
Right.
There, one of the things too that I think a lot of people conflate sometimes is popularity or mainstream with sustainability or the idea of like just having a job. Do you know what I mean? Like
That's when this whole conversation started.
Yeah.
That's where my mind went immediately.
yeah.
Right? Because a lot of these bands don't keep up that type of, let's just say, reputation
Yeah.
for the duration of their,
Absolutely
of
not.
their existence. Right? So, yeah, I
to
mean,
be able to sustain those numbers for a long period of time says a lot about the band.
yeah, big time. Yeah.
It's like, Neil Young's biggest selling album, obviously Harvest. It's got Heart of Gold, stuff
Yeah.
like that on there. And I think that one is something like 15 million or something. I think I wrote it down, but I don't remember exactly. But his next records don't sell nearly as much.
Right.
But they're nothing to shake a stick at. And again, Neil's buying Lionel trains and he ain't fucking, putting track down.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he sells enough that he can keep himself in a job. That's success to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't give a shit if it's 1 million sold. The idea that he's just never had another job, that's successful. That's a successful career.
Yeah,
And especially when you start looking at some of the best-selling albums of all time, you realize, well, yeah, you're not even, you had that one and that sets you up for life, but you never could come close to that ever again.
That's
And no
also-
one's ever heard of you again. Sometimes.
That's also what I think the timing that these older bands
Mhm.
put out their big
Yes.
hit albums.
Yes.
It made such an impact then
Yes.
that for a long time they were able to coast off of the reputation off of those albums.
One
right?
that I skipped, a perfect example of that is AC/DC.
with Back in Black.
I mean,
Or- yeah.
It's 50 million sold.
Yeah.
It's the number 2 best-selling record of all time.
Wow. Okay.
Their next best-selling record, Highway to Hell, 9.4 million.
That's a huge drop off. I mean, because that's millions.
Millions.
You know, that's fuck. Yeah.
But yet, 9.4 ain't nothing to sneeze at.
No, not at all. Not
And
at all.
when you think about that band's career, the diehards will always tell you, Bon Scott is the AC/DC that
Sure.
everyone should be listening to.
Yeah.
Nothing against the new guy. But the new guy comes in, and that album, for whatever reason, hits a moment in time where everyone feels they need to buy it.
Yep.
And the next album, I did not write it down, but the next album after that one, I didn't write the number down, that would have come after. So, in other words, the momentum of Back in Black
Yeah.
goes into, if I'm correct, and better AC/DC fans will let me know, I'm sure, if I am incorrect, but I believe the next one is For Those About to Rock, We Salute You.
Yeah.
I don't think, well, I just told you it didn't beat Highway to Hell.
Wow.
So you went from selling 50 million copies, and the album that came out after couldn't sell 9.5 million, and you would have beat your second best album.
Yeah.
Drop off.
Yeah.
Massive. So something about that album in that time, 1980, I believe is when that album comes out,
Okay.
just hits. Now, MTV is also at its prime right then.
Yeah.
Those music videos they were putting out were perfect for MTV.
Yep.
That could have had a lot to do with it. You know, I wouldn't be surprised to find out ZZ Top's best-selling album is probably Eliminator.
Yeah. I would not be surprised. Yeah.
You know? So, as you have pointed out earlier, there are a lot of factors into what goes into what sells or what not.
Sure.
But when you continue to look at the history of heavy metal compared to what is mainstream by other ways of measure,
Yeah.
I just have to push back and say, I don't think it's ever truly been mainstream.
That's my argument also. Like, I never thought heavy metal was mainstream,
Especially in America.
even in other countries.
Well, definitely, but
Right,
even
but
more
like,
so in America when
because-
you start adding, and we covered this in our Satanic Panic, when it is so attached to heavy metal,
Yes. Yeah.
the backlash alone kept
Yep.
many people from listening to that music.
Yeah, heavy metal was at one point, even though people will now reference it like, oh, I used to watch Beavis and Butthead.
Sure. Right.
I remember people when they would call you Beavis and Butthead, it was not. I'm not going to say a slur,
No,
but
no,
it was negative, right? Like, oh, you must be one of those Beavis and Butthead.
Okay,
types.
Nick. Stay
Right?
out of my brain. Okay? But this is a great point because one of the people that he brings up is this is how you know heavy metal was mainstream because that's how we got stereotypes like Bill and Ted.
I remember this. I did see that. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Yep.
Now here's my pushback on that.
All right.
And again, please understand, I am not trying to pick a fight with this guy in any
No, no,
way.
no.
I
Yeah,
actually
this
like
is-
him. I respect him. I think he puts on a good channel.
Yeah.
It's just difference of opinion. That's all this is. And
And
life
again-
is perspective, and my perspective is just different than his.
And
Please.
it gives you and I a conversation.
Yes,
piece, right?
absolutely.
So-
Yeah, I just thought it was very interesting. Which, for that alone, thank you, dude.
Sure.
I'm glad you put stuff in my head that makes me think. I love doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yes, the problem with Bill and Ted to me is, weirdly, as I look back, they don't seem like metalheads to me.
No, they don't.
They're like stoners that like Van Halen,
Right.
which, by the way,
Rock dudes.
they're rock dudes. That's who they really like.
Yeah.
I know the famous put them in the Iron Maiden. Excellent,
Yeah.
you know. But if their biggest was Iron Maiden at that point,
Right.
what are we talking about here?
Right. Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying I wouldn't want to hang with Bill and Ted. I'm not saying we probably couldn't exchange a few albums.
I would love to travel time with them and Rufus.
Absolutely. But I would even also say, take a look at the difference between Bill and Ted First and Bill and Ted 2.
Oh,
The soundtrack
definitely.
is drastically different.
big time.
They leaned more into the metal.
Yep.
Remember, Megadeth is on that soundtrack. Faith
Yeah.
No More is on that soundtrack. They did lean more into the metal on the second one
Yeah,
than they
yeah,
did the first
yeah.
one. You know, so it's funny. Thank you. I'm so glad you brought up the Beavis and Butthead because you're right. I didn't think Beavis and Butthead was. I loved it, but I didn't want to be called that. It's like Wayne's World. I love Wayne's
yeah,
World.
Exactly.
They're not metalheads. Their
No,
biggest band is Aerosmith.
Aerosmith. Yeah, they were rock guys.
They're rock
Yeah.
guys. They love Queen and Aerosmith, which again, we'd hang. Put on Bohemian Rhapsody all day long. If you put on Aerosmith, I'm going home. But rock and roll, dude. Yes, Garth, Wayne, I want to hang out.
They went to go see Alice Cooper.
Cooper.
Cooper
Thank
is
you.
not metal.
No, he is not.
You know, so
Godfather in some ways to metal, influential to metal, absolutely.
I'll give it that.
100%, but
But
he's not fucking metal.
Not metal.
And by the
No.
way, when they go see him, when he's doing the Feed My Frankenstein, it's when he's trying to lean into a more
Into the
metal,
heavier stuff.
heavier. Let's be honest, hair metal is really what he was
Sure.
leaning more into because Poison comes
a more
out at that
a
time.
more aggressive,
Aggressive. Now it's the black jacket,
black leather and
yes,
shit, like riding
exactly.
crop. Yeah.
Exactly. So again, another reference. So glad you said that. Not surprised because once again we sometimes share the same brain. But yeah, exactly. You go like that's a horrible. The reality is like I never felt there was representation
Right.
of real metalheads. I've always said every time I've ever seen the depiction of heavy metal, it's one of two things. It's either Judas Priest
Yeah.
or a band like a Judas Priest. So it's
Like a
guys in leather
leather
and a
daddy
high-pitched
guy.
vocal guy.
Yeah.
Or it's a bunch of dudes that look like essentially they look like Deicide. And you don't
Yes.
understand a word they're saying.
Right.
That's the depiction of heavy metal in mainstream media. It's one or the other. You're either a Judas Priest type or you're something that sounds so satanic and I don't know what you're saying.
We also did get a depiction of metalheads
Mhm.
in the movie Airheads,
Ah, yes.
right?
Yes.
But even those guys
Yeah.
looked kind of
Yeah, they were more grungiest, yes, and liked White Zombie
Right.
and stuff like that. Again,
Which
not-
again, it can be argued White Zombie metal.
oh yeah,
Sure.
yeah, I would
Oh,
say
for
metal.
sure.
Oh,
Yeah, right.
I'll give them metal, no problem.
But just the way that band portrayed itself.
Yes, and even their
was-
song,
The song, exactly. Dude, yes. Yeah.
right?
Right. So I mean, to think that metal was ever mainstream the way pop would have been,
Right.
or anything else.
Well-
even to a certain degree, punk. Right?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Because punk was maybe a little bit easier to criticize and make fun of.
And I think a look that you could do easier if you put a guy in a mohawk and a leather jacket. That's the
It was
punk guy.
Yeah. But and I'm not gonna ask for
No, no,
numbers.
no.
But people were more aware of bands, especially back in the day, like Sex Pistols and
Certainly the
shit like
Sex Pistols.
that.
Yes.
Blondie did kind of cross that barrier.
Yes.
Where she was the artsy punk type stuff in the
Yes.
beginning, and then all of a sudden, Blondie's music is in Scarface.
Yeah.
It's being played on Saturday Night Live
Right.
of all fucking things. So
And being in New York helps that too.
big time.
Yeah. And that whole, the whole CBGB, art scene,
The art scene,
stuff
yeah.
that was considered punk in the beginning did not go on to be punk
Right.
as we know it.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
But yes, I mean, there's so many different things to look at in that. Another thing I would think, here it is. This is the most mainstream metal has ever been. Cannibal Corpse and Ace Ventura.
Ace Ventura, 100% yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's the number one mainstream metal thing. That was no doubt a metal band.
Yep.
Nobody doubts the credentials of Cannibal Corpse in any way,
No,
shape, or form.
not at all. Yeah.
And they were in a fucking mainstream movie
Yeah.
that made a shit ton of money.
Yep. Yeah.
That's
right.
the closest I can think of ever. Because, you can look at soundtracks even, but even then,
Sure.
you're talking like Gummo. How many people saw Gummo?
Not a lot. And even
That's
even
that Sepultura and fucking Burzum and all this other stuff.
and
So,
fucking Sleep. And
yeah.
shit, yeah. Even and back to Anthrax.
Please.
Even their appearance on Married with Children.
that would be, yes, probably the number two.
Number 2. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, even then they didn't even get to play the whole fucking song. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just and both of them you could argue used for a joke,
Yes. Yeah.
right? It wasn't to be like I'm going to see. Anthrax was like, oh god, they're going to tear the house apart and they're going to ruin our entire. You know what I mean?
I do think the Cannibal Corpse appearance was more truer metal.
Yes.
Because you saw them, while you're right, it was used for a joke. You saw them in their natural habitat.
Absolutely.
You
Real
saw
people
the crowd,
headbanging, people.
yeah, exactly,
Yes,
pushing
great
each other, and then the band is there
Yes.
doing their thing.
100.
You realize that it's not a
Yeah.
a satanic blood orgy. It's just a bunch of hairy dudes.
But
you know.
but nonetheless playing Hammer Smash Face.
Hammer Smash Face. Was the song,
they didn't
yeah.
do the slow down version. It wasn't the acoustic version.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It wasn't the radio
No.
edit.
So I would say that's as close as it's ever come to mainstream.
I agree. I'll agree.
You
with
know,
you.
those
Yeah,
two.
yeah.
That's another great example. Thank you for that. So when you start looking at those kind of things, to me, it's just like, yeah, man, I have to argue that it just isn't that way. You know?
Yeah.
And then you start looking at things like these are some of the categories I went with. We don't have to go through every single band. It's
Sure.
just to say in general. So we're both 90s kids for the most part.
Yeah.
That's when we're really coming up into music. So, okay. Who are some of the biggest acts of the 90s? Well, number one's got to be Nirvana, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Again, 30 million of Nevermind. It's the number 2 album of that year,
Yeah.
of 91, behind a little thing called Metallica's Metallica. Okay? Their second and 28th all-time best record sales ever is Nirvana's Nevermind. It's the 28th most sold record of all time worldwide.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's why when Dave Grohl talks about the early days of the Foo Fighters where they were just making $200 a night in a van, you kind of go like, yeah, sorry, Dave. Anyway.
Let me tell you, Dave, we just traveled
Yeah.
a couple hundred miles to make $50.
Yeah.
Beat that,
And
buddy.
Loved every minute of it.
Yeah,
but
I love
Didn't have the Nirvana we didn't have 30 million sales to be
I would have
relying on.
loved to have scrounged $200 a night, but
So their second is their Unplugged album at 12 million.
no shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
And their third, because I kind of knew, would be the one that Heart-Shaped Box is on.
Heart-shaped box.
Which-
was that not in utero? That's the
Yeah, no, in utero.
In utero?
Not
Yeah.
in cystocide. It's in utero.
Okay.
Yeah,
alright.
which all the fans hated because it didn't sound anything like, didn't have the pop sheen that Nevermind had.
Right.
It had Steve Albini.
That's
Nothing against Butch Vig, fucking great producer.
great. Yeah.
But
for
Steve
sure.
Albini put his touch on In Utero, and over half of the people went, not for me, thanks. Another big one, obviously, Pearl Jam.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And by the way, to their success, this is a band that still tours to this day and and sells records and does well. Their fans fucking love them. And let's remember, this is a band that tried to sabotage their own career to a degree. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean in a punk way of
Sure.
going, we're not doing fucking videos, and we're going to take on Ticketmaster.
Yep.
And still achieved, because 10 sold 15 million fucking copies.
Wow, that's a lot.
But their second is Versus with 8 million.
That's still a lot.
That's still a lot, but it's a drop-off.
It is, but honestly,
Dude.
that drop off is a
Oh.
lot better than any of the other
Oh,
ones.
for sure.
That's
It's a
only 2 million.
Well, it's your math is better than mine because I couldn't have done that. So another one I looked at, this one kind of surprised me. Dr. Dre. I thought, well,
Oh, hell
Jesus,
yeah.
the Chronic, right?
Yeah.
Chronic is a classic. It again, those are one of those. The Chronic is one of those albums that reshaped an entire genre.
You can't live in California without
Oh,
being
it
handed
should come
that
in the
album.
mail. My
Yeah.
God. No, it's not his number one.
Wow.
It's 2001 Chronic with 10.6 million copies sold. The Chronic, even though when we were in 90s, that felt like it's this thing you could not escape.
Yeah.
5.4 million.
Interesting.
Justice for All sold more than the Chronic.
That's crazy.
It is, right? To think about, right? Yet we would all agree the impact the Chronic had on music in general, and especially hip-hop,
Yeah.
far bigger than Justice for All
Yeah.
would have had
yeah.
on Thrash,
For
right?
sure. Yeah.
So it's just, these are, again, perspective. I love when you get a bigger picture and you start to round it out, you kind of change your mind about how you see things in a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Well, this is the kind of like the conversation we've had many times.
Please.
When we talk about our absolute favorite band,
Right.
that everyone should know,
Right.
and then when we ask a stranger on the street, and they're like, "I'm sorry, who's Slayer?"
Well, and this, it's funny that you say that, because this is, if there are three things that triggered this thinking in my head, the first actual one that started it was at my work. I used to have a flight jacket, and it had a Slayer patch on the back of it.
Yeah.
And then I realized how much of a Nazi I look like, so I got rid of it. But I remember standing in line to clock out at work, and a girl behind me who was she was 22, probably 25 at the most at the time.
All right.
Also, again, because this is important, perspective and so on and so forth.
Sure.
She's also first generation. Her parents came here from another country, Asian country. She's Asian.
Okay.
So she's 25 years old, growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s. I'm not surprised. I shouldn't have been surprised she didn't know who Slayer. But she's behind me in line and goes, Slayer, that's like a band, I'm assuming, right? And there was a moment where I was like, how do you not know who Slayer is?
Yeah.
Because it feels like they are worldwide dominators.
Oh yeah. I mean, to us they are.
They absolutely are, right?
We watch the tour
There you
videos
go.
and all that stuff, and we're thinking
They're playing stadiums.
they're playing stadiums. Ain't nobody around who has not heard
No.
of Angel of Death.
No.
Right? Like we think that.
Yes.
But then we go outside of our bubble, out
Yes.
of our lanes, as
Yes.
it were. And when we are being told that, no, we don't know who fucking Sepultura is or Slayer is.
Right.
What's an Anthrax? Isn't that dangerous?
Right.
Megadeth. Like, they don't know the story of Megadeth and Metallica.
No.
Right? So,
Which feels like folklore. We're
yeah,
in our
exactly.
bubble.
It's
That's like the Bible. Like
it's a
like
myth at this
not
point,
knowing
right?
who Moses was.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Like those are the early days of. What do you mean you didn't know Iron Maiden's first singer isn't in the band anymore?
Right,
How could you
right.
not know that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like
Yeah.
these are things that we tell each other all the time
Yeah.
in our little bubbles.
Yep.
And because of the destruction of the monoculture, we are now out of. There was a time where it didn't matter what you listened to. We all knew Michael Jackson put out a fucking video, or let's be honest, fucking said a word,
Right.
because it was
Yeah.
everywhere.
Exactly.
You couldn't
Yeah.
escape it.
I
So
also, to
Please.
homie from the heavy metal philosophy,
yes,
as far as like the instrumentation thing, like here's another thing. And
Please,
I
please.
I don't mean to distract
no, please.
So the fact that there are so many bands available now,
Mm-hmm.
I get it. It's difficult letting go of something you've enjoyed for such a long time.
Mhm.
I understand that 100%.
Mhm.
However, if you take a couple of moments to maybe look into a newer band or newer bands,
Mhm.
actually,
Yeah.
because there are as many proficient people playing music now
Oh, for
that
sure.
have done it maybe even better
Yeah.
than what was used to play.
Well,
then.
their influences now are grander. They've had 35 years of metal or more
Right.
to really look at. And again, and not to necessarily push back, but to say, I don't get the sense that he's lamenting anything. It's more just to say, like, look, these bands are going away. We will eventually lose Judas Priest. We'll eventually lose
Sure.
Iron Maiden. Will there be bands to replace them? Probably not. Heavy metal as a genre may go back, in his opinion, underground, which he has no problem with.
Yeah.
He thinks that's great because, again, he did very much push back at that Rich Prasada guy about rock being dead and metal being dead,
Right,
and saying,
right.
absolutely not, dude. You don't know what you're talking about, and here's why you don't know. Maybe you have some good points here and there, but for
Yeah.
the most part, I think you're completely wrong. But his premise overall, for me, I didn't have look, the number one bands as far as popularity, yeah, you would definitely Priest, Maidens, the Metallicas, the Megadeths.
Sure.
They're all going away. We've lost Slayer to a degree, although every time somebody writes a big check and there's a big stadium,
They
apparently
somehow pop
they
up.
show right up.
We
But-
lost Black Sabbath.
Yes, we've
But-
lost Black Sabbath,
right.
and that's where he said, like, we kind of like, let's be honest here, I mean, there is no more Zeppelins, there's no, Blue Oyster Cult's never going to sell what
Sure.
get the kind of audiences of these. You essentially are, and this goes to, if I may,
Yeah.
another thing where it's perspective. This is not a political thing in any way, shape, or form, but we both heard it from people we knew, but let alone the hubbub of Bad Bunny's playing the halftime show. I've never heard of him.
Sure.
I've never
Right,
heard of him.
Right. Yeah.
Or why don't they just get a rock band? Great. Name the rock band.
Yeah.
Name them. Because other than Metallica, name the band.
Yeah. Nope.
Because either one, you're picking an older one that's probably already played. Rolling Stones, U2. They've already done it.
Yep.
So name a current rock band that can get worldwide viewership.
Yeah.
You can't after Metallica. There are none.
Right.
Period. That's not to say there aren't great rock bands. Like, I'm telling you, remember, that means they passed on the Foo Fighters, who is probably the number one most mainstream rock band going right now.
If you want to be safe, you get the Foo Fighters.
Right?
Right. Like,
And yet they passed on them because
Yeah.
they went with a Bad Bunny. And again, if we get to those numbers, I think you'll understand why they went with a Bad Bunny. You know what I mean? But again, this perspective that people have, like, well, I've never heard of. Well, first of all, that doesn't mean shit.
That is I've heard it mostly said in the metal community.
No doubt about it.
Right? Which is irony at its best. Because when somebody says that about, like, what do you mean you've never heard of this
Right.
fucking Iron Maiden album? It's like, God damn, you
And
idiot.
I've had it the other way where there's guys at work that'll say something about, and people go, man, that guy really knows about rock. And then I'll be like, look, if we want to play the game of he knows a lot about stuff I didn't know, I'll kill all of you.
yeah.
Okay? Now, I'm not saying that makes me a smart man. It's a lot of useless knowledge rocking around in his
Same,
head. Believe
same.
me.
Yeah. I'm,
But,
I'm
like, if-
surprised I'm married
Right.
with all the stupid
Thank
shit
you.
I know.
I'm surprised I remember I'm married with all the stupid shit in my head. It's just say, if we're really going to compare useless knowledge,
Right.
I got tons of it, pal. I can do this all fucking day.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean anything because what's obscure to you may not be obscure to me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you said, the tale of the Megadeth coming out of Metallica is old news. If you walked into a room and said, "Hey, have you heard the story?" You get no clout with that.
No.
In a metal room, we all know that fairy tale. We've all heard it. You know, I think of things like in that sense where it's just like acquiring knowledge. By the way, should just be because you want to acquire knowledge, not
Sure.
because you hope to laud it over somebody's fucking head. Either.
Which,
But please,
really quickly,
please.
it used to be, especially like in my experiences anyways, it used to be that when you met a new person or you got introduced to a new crowd
Sure.
who maybe liked the same things,
Yes.
you would throw out those little
Oh yeah.
factoids like,
You test
hey,
each other. You want
right?
to know
like,
where
hey,
you're at.
you know
yeah.
that Phil is in a black metal
Right.
band or all this dumb shit, right?
Especially as dudes.
yes.
There's a
and
little chest thumping to see,
big time.
are you part of my tribe or not?
And now what it's become is the anecdotes have become personal.
Yes.
And that's what's being held over the other people. Like, oh, I'm friends with
Right.
such and such.
Well, because you
know?
can't, because now that knowledge has become so ubiquitous and you can find it
That's what
everywhere.
That's what it is.
That you if to trump it and look, I do get that people do that in general. It's just to say like, yes, that now we're kind of stepping into some gatekeeping territory.
It's like a
you know?
weird, like I'm in the Matrix, like with the knowledge type shit. You know, it's like I am the question you're asking.
Which again for me was was always about the idea. I just wanted to learn about it. I
Right,
didn't have
right.
anybody to impress. And by the way, I still haven't found anybody that's that impressed by it. You know what I mean?
Hey.
Oh well, I mean again, of course, my fellow metalheads and my fellow music fans, of course they are.
You hush your tongue because
Well,
I've always been
well,
impressed by it.
and you and so is you. It's just say, but that's what our connection is. In other words, like when I go to work and say these things, nobody's impressed by
Oh,
it. They
yeah,
don't give a
yeah,
fuck. These
yeah.
these bands mean nothing to them.
People didn't care that I could list off everybody who's been in Samhain. You know, like,
Right.
for some weird reason.
I
right?
know, what a bunch of losers. You know? So yeah,
Dweebs.
but again, it's just to say that's why I think it's so important to step out of the bubble once in a while and
Yeah.
really garner perspective on understanding, you know, to take it a little bit out of the realm of music. It's like people go, oh man, these Hollywood stars, they're all making millions of dollars for these movies. Do you understand when you think of Hollywood stars, I don't care what guy or girl comes to your mind when I say Hollywood stars. I don't
Yeah.
care how many of them there are. They represent less than 1% of all working actors and
Right,
actresses
right.
in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So the reality is most of these people are not fucking multimillionaires doing giant movies all the time.
Here's a weird one that back then when I put it into this type of perspective,
Please.
I was lucky enough or unlucky enough to attend Metallica and Guns N' Roses
Mhm.
at the Rose Bowl.
Sure.
The other concert I've ever seen at the Rose Bowl
Uh-huh.
was just as packed.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been Depeche Mode.
Oh, yeah, dude. there was a moment, right, where Depeche Mode, especially in LA,
Yeah.
like they ruled.
Yeah.
In fact, I believe that is one of their. Well, I think about something like the Clash. Remember
Yeah.
when the Clash go to New York and they
Yep.
play? I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's Mets Stadium.
Shea Stadium.
'Cause I think it's Shea Stadium.
Yeah.
The whole place is fucking packed.
packed. Yeah, packed.
I mean, they were as they said, the only band that mattered, and it was true in that moment.
In that
moment,
moment,
that's exactly what it felt like.
Yeah.
And again, many times, and again, as we go through these, you will see many times album sales and the way we judge popularity or success or so on and so forth can really just be a moment in time.
It's not indicative of the entirety
No
of the
way.
band's.
No way. Not always.
Yeah, not always. I mean, and when it is, even then, it's kind of like, you know.
Yes and no, and maybe I'll change your mind on this. I hope I do, because there were some surprises when I looked at the best-selling albums of all time. How many people make it in the top 50 more than once? One of the bands that I think most people, when you say it, will go, "Oh yeah," but also go, "Well, I have nothing bad to say about them." You know. So we'll get there. We'll get there.
Well, I'm curious who it is.
I know you are. We'll get there. This is called a tease, everybody. It keeps you listening to the end of the episode.
Yeah, so I remember
Please,
going
keep
to that
going.
Metallica show.
Yeah.
And I remember looking around and seeing, I'll never be around this many people ever again.
Right.
And then
Right.
a couple years went by, Depeche Mode came around, and I was like, oh, here I am in front of this many people again.
Right.
You know, and it's like, well, what's going on? Is Metallica as big as Depeche Mode, or is it the other way around?
And
Right.
is it that moment?
Yeah.
At that moment,
Yeah.
those are the two biggest rock bands
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
you could even say, I will say, heavy metal and a rock band going. Period.
Yes.
End of story.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you're into heavy metal or if you're into rock,
Yeah.
you're going to that fucking show.
They're going. Yeah.
Okay. So and it's LA. There's
Yeah.
more people here than fucking
Than anywhere else.
than North and South Dakota.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
And West and regular Virginia.
Yes. And that's no offense to any of the people that live there, although there should only be one. Anyway, it's just to say, like, again, like that says a lot about that moment.
Of course.
Metallica is still selling out SoFi.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, another one, now that you mentioned, and now that I say SoFi, a beautiful one where our world compared to the everyone else's world.
Okay.
We were lucky enough, and I especially was very lucky, to get to see Emperor
Oh, yes.
on this, not this tour coming, but the last one.
Yeah.
We got to see them twice. Again, thank you very much. We saw them at SoFi. Well, technically, the YouTube Theater.
YouTube Theater.
That
Inside.
fits inside SoFi. And we saw them at the House of Blues in Anaheim.
In Anaheim. Yeah.
So while we are there at the YouTube Theater, that is, again, inside
Yeah.
SoFi, okay? A football stadium that has a concert hall inside of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to give you perspective. Again, we still have a lot of homeless people, but we seem to be able to build stadiums that we can put other
Without a
venues
problem.
in. Anyway, that's a whole different episode. All I'm saying is, Emperor, again, you and I, our love for Emperor goes beyond words.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are no doubt one of the grandfathers of black metal. They invented a style. What can't you say about this amazing band, right?
Fantastic. Yeah.
Who are coming from Norway to America to play these shows.
Yeah.
That show was sold out. The show at the House of Blues 2 days later was also sold out.
Yeah.
While we are inside the YouTube Theater that once again is inside SoFi, they have a screen, as most venues do now.
Yeah.
Well, it's giving advertisements for other things that
Oh,
will be
yeah,
playing
that's right.
at the YouTube Theater or even at SoFi.
Yeah.
Two of them, and this is another one, when we talk about mainstream, and especially when we talk about mainstream now,
Yeah.
that really shows you what mainstream is. There were two artists that stuck out to me the most. One, maybe a few of you have heard of her. She is the Queen Bee, Beyonce.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was playing SoFi 2 nights in a row, and both of them were sold out.
Yeah. And this wasn't YouTube Theater.
No.
This was
SoFi.
Yeah. Yeah. This
The
was,
stadium that I was in the underground
I was-
of to see my band.
I was inside the inside
Yes,
of
yes,
SoFi.
yes. If SoFi was the body, I was in the colon
Yeah.
of the body. Okay, to see a band that, again, in our world, gives us no street cred. We
No
cannot
street cred,
say
yeah,
we're like
yeah.
we're into underground black metal
Not at
because we
all.
love Emperor.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? Instead, it's like saying we love Judas Priest. but the black metal version
But
of
exactly,
it.
yeah.
Right? Okay. And that's no
non-leather.
right, absolutely. And no they're wearing metal fatigues
Well,
but again, this is no slight on Emperor. I would
Not
never.
at all. Not at all. Yeah.
The next one I saw was a little blonde girl, perhaps you've heard of her, named Taylor Swift.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Now, she, unlike Queen Bee, well, she could only play 3 nights at SoFi, and every one of them was sold out. We are in a theater that's inside SoFi that's sold out while I'm looking at a thing that says 2 female artists at different times have sold out an entire stadium twice
Yeah.
and 3 times.
Yep. Yep.
That's mainstream, everybody.
That is the mainstream. Right
Okay? And especially when you consider what's going on now with record sales. So 2 fun facts that I love pointing out when it comes to, I'm going to give one for Taylor and I'm going to give you one for Beyonce that shows you once again what mainstream actually is.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift is the first female artist to surpass 100 million in album sales. She now ranks with the Beatles, the Eagles, good God, Garth Brooks, and Elvis. Okay?
God damn.
God damn is right. In 2023, Taylor Swift sold 1 of every 15 vinyl albums
right.
sold
Yeah. Yeah.
in 2023.
That's
So if you
nuts.
lined up 16 vinyl, every 15th or the first one would be her album.
Yeah.
And then you'd go 15 that weren't, and the very next one would be hers. That's all vinyl record sales for an entire year.
Yeah.
She sold 1 out of every 15. That's insane.
That is nuts.
And this is now. Now, when no one buys records, as they love to tell us.
Right. Right.
Here's my one for Beyonce. Her 2023 Renaissance tour significantly boosted the UK economy, contributing to a 6.8% surge in recreation and cultural spending, the fastest rise in 30 years. Dubbed Bayflation. You understand this, everybody? They dubbed a thing with her name in it because it affected their economy, calling it the Bayflation. The tour increased demands for hotels, restaurants, and travel, with major concerts helping drive a record, here we go, £8 billion in UK music tourism spending.
Fuck.
Now, £8 billion compared to dollars, I have no idea. I don't know what a pound
That's
is.
like $20.
I think so.
Yeah,
I
something
mean,
like
ultimately.
that.
But, still.
Yeah.
The woman, her concert changed an economy
Yeah. That's
in the UK, which is a superpower. Not the economy of, and this is no disparaging, I'm just saying, not
Sure.
of Romania.
right.
Not of a
right.
small village
this
in
is
Italy.
One of
This is a superpower.
This is a European superpower, right? Like after the US, when you go into Europe, it's the UK.
And by the way, again, UK. So that's Scotland, England,
Scotland,
Northern
England,
Ireland,
Wales.
Wales. Like the entire economy
That's
is what she was
crazy.
able to achieve.
That is astronomical.
It really is. It
Yeah.
really fucking is, dude.
Oh my god.
So that's another thing to think about. So I looked at some pop
Yeah.
numbers, right?
Sure, yeah.
Beyonce, her biggest selling album. Now again, the number's a little low, but again, she's existing in a time where we're not selling as many. So this is still actually a pretty damn good number considering.
Yeah.
Apparently it's called, bear with me here. I'm not part of the Beehive. I'm Sasha Fierce, I think is the name of it.
I'm Sasha Fierce.
Just Sasha Fierce?
Sasha
Okay.
Fierce. Yeah.
9 million records.
Yeah.
It's pretty damn good.
Pretty great. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Taylor Swift, her 1999 album, sold 14 million records.
Nice, nice.
Her last album was the 4th best-selling album of 2020 with 4 million records.
Wow.
Okay.
Mm.
Some heavy hitters in general.
Sure.
Van Halen. I would say, people would say, well, come on, man. That's a big band. That's a huge. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. And their first, the first album and 1984 are essentially tied. Now, 1984 has Jump. That's the big one, right?
Yeah.
So the first album was 11.8 and in 1984 was 11.7.
Okay.
Nothing to sneeze at. But also, when you're competing against, say, U2's Joshua Tree that sold 25 million,
Yeah, that was huge. Yeah.
right? But a moment, right?
Yep.
And then they've never achieved that again,
Right.
even though they've never had a day job. I wish they did, but
Yeah.
how about you learn to play guitar? So I look at stuff like this. Tupac, All Eyes on Me. It's a double album.
Right.
Sold 5.4 million,
Pretty good.
especially as a double album.
Yeah.
That's double the price.
That's
and
tough to sell
it-
also.
absolutely, and
Yeah.
still sold 4. And by the way, you talk about consistency. I think you get down to about album 4 or 5 in terms of order of best sales, because it's technically his greatest hits is his most sold album.
Right.
They're all in the millions. So
Wow.
that's a consistent artist that's
That is
selling
pretty
a lot of
consistent.
records.
Yeah.
That says something. But here's one of those big ones where you go, holy shit.
Is this the one?
No.
This
We're
is-
going to
okay.
get there.
All right.
We are going to get. I promise, because you love this band for one, and two, I think it says a lot about them. I really think this, for all that we love about them,
Yeah.
it says even more about them.
Okay. All right.
And I think they show you can marry art with sales in a lot of great ways.
Oh, I know who it is.
They probably do, but Celine Dion has 2 albums that have sold over 30 million copies.
30 million.
30 million.
Wow. All right.
She's in, I believe, let me check my numbers. I believe she's in, one of them is in, not the top 5. No, she's not in the top 5.
At 30 million, she's not in the top 5. Okay.
No,
Top 10?
I believe she may be. Yes.
Okay.
In
Yeah.
fact, yes, she very much is. She's at least, well, let's put it this way. Both of those albums are at least tied with Nirvana's Nevermind, and they're 28th.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay? She has 2.
Crazy. That's, I mean, hey.
And the Titanic soundtrack, I believe, is in the top 10. So technically, she has 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's insane.
That is insane.
And yet, let's be honest. Do you know anybody who listens to Celine Dion?
I mean, I know a lot of people who say they do, but I don't ever recall anybody in my orbit ever talking about Celine Dion.
And yet, you could not escape that Titanic song when it came out.
Not at all. Right. Yeah. True.
It was everywhere.
everywhere. Yeah.
You know? I mean, one of the biggest movies of all time, let alone the soundtrack,
Right.
let alone the woman who sings the song, who then put it on another record, and then the record after that, she didn't put it on there, but it still sold the
It
same
still
fucking
sold-
amount of records.
Yeah. That's nuts.
That's some consistency right there.
That is pretty good.
You know? So, what's interesting now is, I'm gonna save the best albums of all time for last, because I think
Okay.
that's just the kind of way to
That's
kinda
like the best all-time
all-time sales
All right.
of all records. I get the top 5, and then I'll put some also, because he's saying that metal is mainstream. I'll tell you how many rock or metal bands are on that list, or at least in the top 50,
Okay.
and it's far less than we would think. So some might say, well, what about more contemporary metal bands? You know,
Okay.
i.e., say late 90s to the mid 2000s. Okay, let's look
Okay.
at those. Disturbed. I don't necessarily think they're a metal band, but we'll go with that. Okay.
Jock rock.
Yep. Jock itch. Down with the Sickness is their number 1 album by far. 5.3 million.
All right.
Nothing to sneeze at.
Nothing at
Again,
all.
they're a touring band. They
Yeah.
don't have other jobs.
That song was also everywhere. for a
Every
while.
single place. I mean, I saw them when they opened for Danzig
All right.
when I was in Kansas. So, and I didn't know who the fuck they were, and it felt like 2 years later I couldn't escape them. So, Five Finger Death Punch. Again,
All right.
I don't consider them a metal band, but people will put them in there.
Someone does.
And these are, and when I say contemporary, also these are some of the more popular ones that are going on right now.
Yeah.
Wrong Side of Heaven. It's got like a fucking 8-word title or whatever. I don't give a shit. But The Wrong Side of Heaven has 1.4 million, and apparently part 2 of that album has close to the same. So 1.4. That's not nothing to sneeze at, but it's not really that massive considering
No.
how big they feel. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way. You know and I know if Loudwire or Kerrang puts up, hey, Five Finger Death Punch, how many people go in and go, fuck them, they suck, they're worse, they're
Right.
so mainstream, blah, blah. 1.4 million,
Mm,
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Tool, I am a fan. Lateralis, 3.4 million.
Okay.
Not a lot when you really think about it. Good numbers, and especially when you consider it's a band that did start out in the 90s when people were buying records.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but clearly sustaining a career.
Right.
System of a Down. Toxicity is their number one by far.
Yeah.
7.9 million. That's nothing to sneeze at.
That's pretty good.
That was a
Yeah.
sensation album. No doubt about it. This one kind of surprised me because I thought they would have been higher. Korn's Follow the Leader is their number one best-selling album
Okay.
with 5.7.
All
I
right.
was surprised to find out that System of a Down beat them, to be honest with you.
I'd be surprised if Limp Bizkit.
I didn't look them up.
If
They
Limp
maybe,
Bizkit
yeah.
didn't like sell more. Or
I mean,
something.
Nookie, my God.
They were on what's that? Woodstock '99.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, they
So,
were
like,
always on TRL, on
Yeah.
you know, yeah. No, you're probably right. I didn't even think to look them up. That was one of those ones where I was like, what are some, because to be honest, in my bubble, I don't know what's hip and cool right now. And trying to look up bands like Turnstile or Sleep Token, it's much more difficult now.
Yes, I did find out a fact of
Please.
Sleep Token.
Uh-huh.
One of their records is like in the top 5 most priced vinyl records on Discogs.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and it's like a recent release too.
Oh,
So
interesting.
and it's like a couple thousand
Wow.
dollars worth. So I mean,
Any particular reason?
honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
I've only listened to one of their albums once.
Okay.
It's obviously not for me.
Yeah.
But again, their fans are very rabid.
Oh, no doubt.
They're very dedicated.
No doubt.
And again, I don't know what
Yeah, no, I
what
it's the same.
drives it.
I just wonder. It's like the rarity is usually what comes with records, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's not. I try to tell people like that's another one I told some people at work that they do not like. They're like, hey, I've got this thing. It's an original press. I'm like, yeah, but there's 50 million copies of that. Like I have one that I could sell right now for probably $300. Like what the fuck? Who? Well, it wouldn't matter because you wouldn't know who they were.
Right. Exactly.
And
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're better than what you're listening to. I'm just simply saying it's more rare.
It's yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. To your point though, I'm glad it's like you're leading me right into these things. It's wonderful. It's like we practice this shit. This was something that I learned because one of the contemporary, for all intent and purposes, metal bands I was trying to look up was Turnstile.
Okay.
They seemed like a really popular band right now.
Yeah.
And then I came across this thing. So, this was introduced in 2010. The album equivalent unit, or album equivalent, often shortened to just unit, is a sales metric in the music industry that defines the number of songs streamed
Yes.
and songs downloaded equal to one album sale.
right.
Well, hold the fucking phone here.
Yeah.
So if I just stream a song or download that one song, that counts as an album sale now?
Yeah. That's
Now, I'm not surprised that the record companies are always looking for ways to skew numbers,
yeah.
which, again, as we talked about earlier on, it used to be the Billboard charts.
Right.
And as we all know, as I'm sure most people know, artists get paid because he gets so many points on a record.
Yep.
I.e., it sells, I get 3 points. So if it sold for $10, I get 3% of that, or however that works, right? Well, there's nothing a record company would love to do more than to hide how many actual numbers of copies you've actually fucking sold.
Yeah.
And God knows they were doing that to many an artist. And how could you figure it out?
Yeah.
Then along comes SoundScan. Suddenly some things start to change and people start to realize, hold up, that number one song that's on Billboard doesn't reflect the number one song that's actually, or the album that's actually being sold.
Yeah.
How is that? We saw a rise, again, if we're going to use the word very liberally, in metal and hard rock, that suddenly numbers went up. This is how Skid Row gets a number one album. This is how Pantera has a number one album. Because SoundScan doesn't lie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now this idea that the record companies have come up with this thing, it's like, well, one stream is like an album sale, right? Like, yeah, I guess in these times, sure. But even then, I believe the number I saw when it came to Turnstile was the first week was 14,000 sales.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know when that changed necessarily because
They're saying what I read was introduced 2010.
well, I mean, because there were other changes where I forget what band it was
Okay.
that sold on Bandcamp,
Oh, okay, I got you.
and they managed to land on the Billboard 100,
Interesting. Okay.
and they were maybe I want to say 30, 40 Like that's where their number
Okay.
was.
Okay.
But it was a band that like nobody would ever expect to land on there.
Well, I don't know what band you're talking about, but I do know of another one
Yeah.
because this kind of tied in. It's a great interview with Ethan from Primitive Man,
Yeah.
where they're debating kind of what underground metal is as opposed to mainstream metal and how blah, 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 blah. He's debating with a guy who used to be in a band called God Forbid. They start by saying how this is when Primitive Man had released a record that actually entered like the metal charts.
Right.
And there were fans complaining like, oh, fuck, they sold out. You know, and you're like, are you fucking kidding me right now? And Ethan said it best. He's like, well, for those complaining, you're the ones who bought the record. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
you
that's a
put
great
us
point.
in you
Yeah.
put us in the charts. I don't know what you want me to do about it. Like I can't make you buy the record. You guys went out and bought the record.
Yeah.
It got put in the charts. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's not. I didn't. You know what I mean? Like I didn't lobby for it. You know. So
Causation versus correlation.
right, like such a ridiculous, you know. But they took him into the idea of like fans. The God Forbid's sense was like people just hate bands that are popular. It doesn't really matter. And it's like, no, there's lots of reasons why people hate bands, and there's lots of reasons why, you know, it kind of got into gatekeeping.
If you
and that
think
sort of thing.
that a band is popular,
Yeah.
you're gonna hate them. But that's the thing with
But what
with
do
the
we call it?
context
Right.
and like the
Right.
the moment in time and all that shit. Yeah.
Right. Like, okay, so that moment in time, Primitive Man entered the charts.
Right. Right.
As Ethan also pointed out, and this is the truth of it, I'm not worried about it because we never compromised to get into the charts.
Right. Yeah.
And as his premise was for most of it is, you can't find me a metal band that hasn't compromised to find themselves having mainstream success. However you define that.
I
He
agree.
said the only band he could come close to thinking of was Slayer. They never compromised and were able to maintain the thing that they had always been. You could say some of the latter albums weren't as good,
Yeah.
but they were always Slayer.
I agree with that.
Oh, absolutely.
100%.
I think he was 100% the whole time. This other
Yeah.
guy's arguing for like Parkway Drive as a fucking band. Like, oh, dude, shut up.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a different discussion, and one maybe we'll have later. But so yeah, when you start looking at the album equivalent, it does change numbers a little bit on
Sure.
how we're doing it. But still, the idea that a Taylor Swift or a Beyonce can still do the numbers that they're doing is still pretty fucking amazing.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this is mainstream to me. You know, another way I would define mainstream is to say things like, I know the name of Cardi B and Nicki Minaj and Megan Thee Stallion,
Yeah.
but if you put all three of them in this room and said, who are they? I don't know that I would get it right.
Right. Yeah.
I do know of the song. We all know WAP or WAP.
Yeah.
You know,
WAP.
yes.
Oh yeah. WAP.
It's WAP, right? Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think it's the bad term for an Italian. That would be weird. You know, and by the way,
that by the way is for Aaron's band.
I mean, and let's be honest, any song that pisses off that little bastard whose name I can't think of it, Shapiro, I'm all for. You know what I mean? You know, a guy who does not understand a vagina in any way.
Who
Shocker.
does not get any WAP
Yeah,
or
no.
WAP.
How happy his wife must be. I don't know, but I know them.
Right.
That is popularity to me.
Yeah.
The
yeah.
fact that I couldn't tell you a single song. You could play 3 Drake songs for me right now, and I don't know if I know that those are Drake songs.
Right. Yeah.
But I do know who Drake is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's when they become a household name.
There you go.
Right. It's when like, you know, again, and this is an outdated
No,
way
please,
of
please,
saying it, but
please.
when a housewife could say
Yes.
who this person is
Yes.
without knowing any real context of who they are or what
Yes.
where they come from, that's the mainstream.
That's
right?
absolutely the mainstream, right? The fact that and then the other part is always remembering we are so spoiled as Americans.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I
There's
mean,
so much music here. We never need to go outside of our own country.
right. This is. that's the
I
truth,
mean,
yeah.
it's the truth, right?
Yeah.
And it's not. And again, I am not disparaging music that exists outside of this country. Hell, even music that exists in this country.
Yeah.
Selena was selling stadiums,
Yep.
and there wasn't a honky in the world who knew who she was
That's-
until she had her crossover hit.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, until she got killed.
You could say ultimately died. Yes.
Yeah.
So she was doing fine.
Yeah.
You know, we do these things like, well, I hope that Shakira kid can make it. And you're just like, the woman sells billions everywhere. Breaking in America is just try to see what she can do.
Shakira recently got hired by Mexico to go play a concert in maybe one of the more famous arenas there, the Zócalo.
Okay.
You know, I won't go too much into the politics. It wasn't that great that she was there, but she got paid to do that by the Mexican government.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Forget the Super Bowl.
Yeah, like,
a government.
The government
paid you
said,
to
"Hey,
play."
come and shake your hips over here. Tell us your hips don't lie."
They
over
do
here.
not lie, by the way. Mhm. And I would tell all the truths if she was shaking in front of me. I mean, you know, we do this over and over and over again. You know, I can't think of her name now. The Australian girl,
Kylie Minogue.
Kylie Minogue.
Yeah.
I mean, she was Madonna in Australia. She didn't need America.
No.
By the way, had been doing albums with Nick Cave and other people.
Yep,
And then
yep.
she has the one hit over here, and we all go, "Oh, who's she?
Yeah, yeah.
I hope she does all right." You
Yep,
know, and you're just
yep.
like, but and that's again, that's because we're just so spoiled as Americans. There's so much to listen to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so many of our more beloved bands that we love didn't sell a fucking thing.
No, not at all. Yeah.
They really didn't. And that doesn't take away from them in any way. And it also says how I think one thing I hope I've shown through this is how success has been measured through the years.
Yeah, it's
Blue
been-
Oyster Cult was seen as a successful band, and their best record sold 1 million copies.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think also with a lot of these types of sentiments, going back to the people don't really want to let go of what they love.
Sure.
You know, I honestly think it's a good thing that these legacy bands are kind of making way, whether it's
Yeah.
because they're, you know, unfortunately dying
Yeah,
or
that's-
just stopping being
Yeah, yeah.
bands. I think it's good because I've said this for a long time.
Mhm.
When the legacy bands are being held onto that tightly, you don't make room for anything new.
There is
Right.
something to be said for this, yes,
Like
especially
you-
if they are not ones that try to take out smaller bands
Right.
to use their capital to help the genre continue.
Like I won't like. I mean, obviously, I don't like bands like Five Finger Death
Yeah,
Punch
yeah,
or
yeah.
all these other
Right.
bands. But I'd be lying if people younger than I got into these bands and then, kind of reached newer heights in a shorter time. Even
Yes.
right. So when you have bands like Avenged Sevenfold
Sure.
and what's the other one? Like Suicide Silence.
Sure. Yeah.
Massively popular.
Yeah.
You know, maybe again, not
Yeah,
my thing.
Right.
But they're out there on the road.
Right.
They're selling.
Yeah.
Whatever they're selling,
Yeah.
they're selling. You know, maybe it's time that some of these older bands kind of make way and let newer bands become the new legacy bands.
For sure.
right?
And again, the other part of that is too is like I get where people don't, like you said, don't want to let go.
Sure.
Which, by the way, if you love Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, you better go see them because the day will come. They're not going to be
They're
around.
not
So
gonna
go
be around. Yeah.
do yourself the favor. Put off whatever because you really should go see them because you will regret
Yeah.
if you didn't get to see them in the thing. I totally see where people. That's why bands that are cover bands people will go see because it's just
Right.
I never got to see the Doors, so I can go see the Doors
Peace
cover
Frog,
band. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So in that sense, I'm with you. Like again. Instead of, in a way, it's almost like, and I know this hasn't always been good in our world, but when we used to be able to rely on the news coming from three
yeah.
channels,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
In some ways, it was good because you knew that was actual reporting.
Yeah.
But in other ways, it was bad because it meant those three could control the narrative,
That's the monoculture.
the monoculture.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now people would say, "Oh, it's so much better because now I can get my news from anywhere." Yeah, that's the problem.
Right.
People are getting their fucking news from anywhere.
You get
You know?
filtered news, but you don't know how to process it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's splintered. It's
Yes,
splintered in
very
so
much so.
many ways. And by the way, you can just go, well, this is the only kind of news I want to hear.
Right. Right.
So music has kind of done the same thing.
Of course.
So when you get rid of the Metallicas, the Megadeths, and he says this in his piece, and I love it, is the idea of maybe we lose the stadiums, but that's great. Wouldn't you rather see a band in a club in a small theater
Yeah.
than seeing them in a stadium anyway?
Yeah. Any day.
Yes, I totally agree on that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because that's also, moving away from the numbers and
Please,
the,
please,
the,
please.
the big picture thing. We always talk about like those small shows that we
Yes.
love, how it gets sweaty and you're
Yes.
there singing along with, another fellow music lover
Yeah.
who's into the band as much
Absolutely.
as you are. Like, we always talk about those being the best of times.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, again, I think there's room for both. You know what I mean?
of
Don't get me
course.
wrong.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Sitting in a giant stadium and that many people are singing along, that's got to feel amazing.
Of
No doubt
course.
about it.
For
But
sure.
yes, I think there's a world where we can do both.
Yes.
But I
yeah.
don't necessarily lament the idea of, you mean I can't spend $160 on this giant stadium where I
Yeah.
stare at a TV the whole time?
Yeah.
Instead, I spend $40 and I actually see the band?
Yep.
Like, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Now, that's a different topic in and of itself. How are the bands affected by this? What is touring? How do they make their money? Is it affordable anymore? On and on and on.
That's
a
yeah,
different story.
that's
That's a different episode.
Sure.
You know, because there's a lot to talk about in that is coming around too.
Right.
Another way, now this is the new way, of course, that we are looking at where the music is.
Yeah.
And that's obviously, let's be honest, it is the beast. It is our boss, the Spotify.
Sure.
So, the streams per month for 2025. This is their top 5. Bruno Mars.
Yeah. I could see that.
Couldn't name a single song from him.
I couldn't either, but I know.
Oh.
I know that name only because
Massively.
plenty of mainstream people
There you go.
have talked about Bruno
Absolutely.
Mars.
And he played, I believe, played Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's huge.
Yep.
128.83 million people streams a month.
128 million. people.
0.83
All right.
streams.
God damn.
Yeah. Yeah. Number 2, the person that nobody's ever heard of, Bad Bunny.
Yeah. I mean,
I've never heard of him. Really? Because 118 million 0.68 streams a month say otherwise.
Yeah.
That somebody's fucking heard of him. You
yeah.
know?
Yeah. I mean, I would honestly be lying if I said I've never heard of the name Bad Bunny.
Oh, I'd be absolutely
Right.
lying. I definitely knew the name.
Like I just because I mean I come from a Mexican family and a lot of my family listens to music in Spanish.
Gotcha.
So again, I'd be lying if I said I'm not familiar with Bad Bunny.
Yeah.
But when this whole thing
Yeah,
popped
yeah,
up
yeah.
with the Super Bowl and
Yeah.
all that, it didn't surprise me because I knew he's a global act,
Yes.
right? And for other reasons,
Yes.
the NFL wanted to go with that,
Absolutely.
right? So it made sense.
It
but
definitely
then,
made sense.
But then when I hear people saying like, "Oh, it should be a rock band, it should be an American band or whatever," I'm like, "Okay,
Well, first of all, wasn't American.
yeah, well, all right."
But
Yeah.
yes.
You know, I was like, "Well, you're gonna really limit the audience,
Oh, absolutely.
right?" Which is weird because the NFL and the Super Bowl are a very mainstream thing,
It is a worldwide event.
right?
There are
So-
more press that show up for the Super Bowl than any other NFL game throughout
Yeah.
the entire year.
Sure.
That's one of the things that people point at is international press is at every Super Bowl.
right.
And as you touched on, for those who don't know, I don't know how many football fans we listen to us. It's to say the NFL is trying to expand worldwide.
Right. Yeah.
They have more games outside of America this year than any other this coming season than any season prior.
Yeah.
Getting Bad Bunny was a way to tell the world we are looking to go international and we're picking one of the top artists in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because again, Spotify numbers are not about America. This is the world.
Yep.
Okay. Number 3, as we go through the top 5, The Weeknd.
I know The Weeknd. Yeah.
Definitely, he again played a Super Bowl.
Play the Super Bowl. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
118 million 0.47 streams a month. These are
Goddamn.
monthly, everyone, not the year.
Not the year. This is a month.
Yes.
This was last February.
Number 4, we've already touched on her, Miss Taylor Swift,
Taylor Swift. Yeah.
with 105.99.
God damn.
Yeah, she is tied with another female artist. Another, by the way, I'm realizing this now. 4 out of 5 of these played a Super Bowl. Rihanna, she's number 5.
Oh yeah.
105.5. It's almost like the NFL as a business looks at the top artists worldwide
Yeah, right.
and tries to hire them for their worldwide Super Bowl. Well, how come my favorite artist? Well, because he ain't in the top
Yeah.
5.
How come Ted Nugent ain't playing the Super
Right, because he's in another top 5. Anyway, interestingly enough, kind of bringing somewhat full circle.
Yeah.
The Arctic Monkeys, one of the bands that set me on this whole
Look at that.
travel, 55 million. They're 43rd in the top 50 bands of most monthly streams.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, So here we go. We will go just to give you perspective on numbers of records sold when it comes to this sort of thing. These are the top 5 best-selling albums of all time, worldwide.
All right.
Number 1 will come as no shocker to anyone who's been alive in the last 40 to 50 years. It's Thriller.
Of course.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know a family that owns 4 copies of it. You know what I'm saying?
You could just say my name.
It's just to say, you talk about an artist that is ubiquitous, especially at that time.
I mean,
he stopped MTV for the Thriller video.
Yeah.
The world stopped to watch Thriller the video.
yeah, that was an event. Yeah.
In every sense of the word.
That was
This
like
is
a cultural
event. There you go.
Yeah.
Who Shot JR, the ending
Yep.
of MASH, a Super
Thriller,
Bowl,
yeah.
Thriller.
Yep.
Okay. Number 2, again, showing you a moment in time. As I've already said, Back in Black with 60 million.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, 50 million.
50 million. Yeah.
60 million. Only 50. Sorry.
Sorry, it's only 50 mil.
And again, never came close to that ever again. And yet, I don't think AC/DC fans would tell you that's their best album in any way, shape, or form.
Because also Back in Black is their return, right? So
After
there was
yes.
a lot of hype
Oh.
on that.
And I will say, I am not a big AC/DC fan.
Right.
It's the only AC/DC album I've ever owned. And there's literally no skips on that album.
Mm.
Every song is fucking cut and dry. Amazing. And think about the production. That's Mutt Lange again. That AC/DC sound. Like, you put it on a stereo, everything is just popping.
Yeah.
It sounds fucking great on a stereo. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah. I mean, that's pretty fucking amazing.
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
Number 3, and this will be the band that I was talking about, Dark Side of the Moon.
Ooh, Pink Floyd. Yeah.
Once again with 50 million. Now, how this becomes 3 instead of 2, I'm not really sure. I didn't look into that.
I think they're going alphabetically.
Maybe.
AC/DC, Pink
Okay.
Floyd. You know, I don't
Okay.
know.
No, you might be onto something. No, it makes sense. I think that maybe that's it, because you go, well, they're both 50 million, so wouldn't it be tied?
Right.
Like,
right.
So yeah, maybe it's that. 50 million. So that's quite a bit.
That is
And here's 2 little tidbits about Dark Side that I love, because once again, I want to give perspective of what popularity truly can mean.
Sure.
For those who do not know, Dark Side of the Moon spent 741 consecutive weeks on the Billboard 200. That's from March 17th, 1973, when it was released, to October 8th, 1988, is when it finally fell out of the top 200, Billboard 200.
That's pretty good.
Oh, it
That's
gets even
pretty
better.
Damn good.
It had 990 total weeks in the Billboard 200 that were not consecutive. If you just took all the weeks it spent in the Billboard 200, it's
Yeah.
990 total weeks.
Yeah, that's cool. That's pretty damn good. Good on them.
I mean-
good for Pink Floyd.
Oh, again,
except for the one dude,
Well,
Roger
yes.
Waters.
I just think it's interesting to see. By the way, they have 2 albums in the top 15.
Oh yeah, The Wall and this one.
Right.
Nice.
That's pretty amazing when you think about the type of band they are,
Yeah.
the type of albums those are.
Yeah.
Dark Side of the Moon being a single album, but The Wall is a double album.
The Wall is double.
But you
yeah.
sold enough to be in the top, I believe, 15.
Nice. That's cool.
That says a lot about that band.
Yeah.
You know, for as much respect as I have for them, that really kind of like, wow. Because they never really sold out in any way. They were always Pink Floyd.
So this is the band that you were.
That's the one I was
looking-
referring.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
when you
This
when you
is-
so
this is good
if
to
I
find
could be wrong about this, but from what I could tell, in the top 50, there were 3 people who had multiple albums.
Okay.
Michael Jackson,
Yeah, that makes sense.
because the number 5 record is Bad.
All right. Yeah.
I mean, it's the name of the album. I don't care what you think of it. It's not. Oh,
It's not your opinion.
yeah, it's
of
not
it.
my opinion. It's the name of the album. With 45 million.
All right. All right.
So Michael Jackson has 2 albums that
The
are in the
top
top
5.
5 best-selling albums of all time.
Jeez.
Do not tell me that Black Sabbath is mainstream.
Yeah. No, that's.
Number 4, I skipped over it because I wanted to get to that, is the Bodyguard soundtrack. The other thing that's very interesting when you look at the top 50 especially is there's a lot of best ofs.
I figured there would be.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Now, here's something that now we get into some interesting stuff, because again, the 3 artists that I could tell off the top of my head, because I should have wrote it down, but I'm pretty sure Michael Jackson, Celine Dion, and Pink Floyd.
Pink Floyd.
Are the 3 artists that have multiple albums within the top 50.
Yeah.
Oh, and the Beatles.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
actually, okay. Now I just remembered the other one. The Beatles and the Eagles.
Okay. Yeah.
Now,
Also, as mainstream as you can get, all of those.
well, first of all, I'll let you guess which fucking Eagles album it is.
The
Hotel
fucking
California.
Hotel California.
Of course
Yeah.
it is. And the second one is right underneath it, and it's their greatest hits.
The greatest hits, of course.
Which says all you need to know as far as I'm concerned about the fucking Eagles.
Yeah.
They have the one song everybody likes, and the other one's just like, just give me the hits because I don't want to listen to their fucking
Yeah.
albums because they're fucking horrible.
And then you can't even name
Yeah.
the other greatest hits.
No, fucking I hate I fucking hate the Eagles. Anyway, to give some perspective, so I go, okay, top 50.
All right.
Rock, we'll go hard rock, because rock and roll, rock, the Beatles have two albums in the top 50.
Sure.
Well, wildly enough, their compilation, Beatles 1, is actually higher than their only other record, which is Sgt. Pepper.
Mm.
Interestingly enough.
All right.
So, any hard rock or metal bands make the top 50 since it's a mainstream? Okay. This is what I could find.
Okay.
Led Zeppelin at 13.
All right.
Led Zeppelin 4, obviously. We went over this before, you
Yeah.
know. Stairway to Heaven. What are we doing? Of course, right?
Yeah.
Number 13, 37 million. This is in numerical order as we go down.
Okay.
15th is Metallica's Black Album with 33 million. Definitely hard rock. Metallica's Black Album, like, for all of its faults, I still think is a metal album.
Sure.
We're stretching a little bit, but we'll definitely go with rock.
Yeah.
And more importantly, to say mainstream, Nirvana's Nevermind, as I mentioned before.
Oh, yeah.
It's 28th with 30 million. Well, this goes against what we said about the alphabetical order, so I don't know what the fuck they're doing. Because 30th is Guns N' Roses with Appetite for Destruction with 30 million also. So that means there's also a 29 in there. I don't remember what that was. So they must have all had 30 million.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
This was an interesting one. Talk about proto metal. Iron Butterfly's Inagata Devita with 30 million at 33. So 30 million seems to be a number where a lot of bands get tied up in.
Yeah. I mean, fuck, man. I would love to get tied up at 30 million sales.
Are you kidding me?
Of
Like,
anything.
like, I'm shocked with the Iron Butterfly part. I read that one, but I was like, wait.
Yeah.
Am I reading that right? And this is worldwide sales, according to what I could find. Again, a band like Iron Butterfly is tough to do because they weren't, these numbers were not. My dad has like a bootleg one from Vietnam. Their album Heavy, I think. I have it now because my father's dead. But he got it when he was in Vietnam in the Navy. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know how many of those sales were being calculated. You know what I mean?
Right,
So
right.
it's just to say, just to keep, again, as I've been saying, perspective.
Sure.
36, Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory, 27 million.
That makes sense. That
Yeah.
Linkin Park is one of those bands that just kind of
They crossed over.
they crossed over. Exactly. Yeah, they crossed over. They went from being maybe a heavier adjacent to new metal and all that
Right.
shit. But I think especially out here being
Yes.
played on K-Rock
Yes.
at all times of the day
Yes.
certainly helped.
There's a
them lot.
pop sheen enough of it to it, and
Yeah.
they weren't too heavy to push away people, but heavy enough that if people want to, I feel like this is something kind of heavy.
That's also,
But
the truth can be said.
Please.
That can be said of all these other bands you've mentioned so far.
100%.
Right? Even Metallica with the Black Album,
Yes.
that has a
There are radio hits all over that
there
album.
are pop sensibilities all
Yes.
over that, which
Yes.
is again why the jock can listen to it, why
Yes.
the metalhead will
Yes.
deny listening to it.
Right.
you
Why
know,
they went and got the guy who did Motley Crue albums to produce
to
it.
produce it. Right.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, Fleming. You're taking a hike. We got to go get Bob Rock.
Bob Rock.
The man's got Rock in his name, for fuck's sake. We got to do it.
Good old Robert Rock.
Right. Number 45. We already went over this, but still. Def Leppard's Hysteria with 25 million.
Yeah.
And the number 50 is Queen's Greatest Hits Volume 1 with 25 million.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, again, that's pop
Yeah,
rock.
oh,
almost
definitely.
at this
Well,
point.
and especially with Queen, like they're a rock band in every sense of the word,
Sure.
but they were never a band that was stuck in one genre.
Never. No, yeah.
So they could make 3 songs and they may all appeal to different people.
Yep.
And that was always the genius and the beauty of Queen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They could do a little thing called Love and also do Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
I could be an Elvis, either Dwight Yoakam is doing a funny little thing called Love or whatever the hell I keep screwing up that title, but you know what song I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Dwight Yoakam's redoing that, but he ain't redoing Bohemian Rhapsody.
Right.
You know, it's just like, yeah, that's the beauty of that band. They could appeal to lots of people in lots of different ways.
Yeah.
But you just say, so again, all of this is to simply say, I'm sorry, metal has never been mainstream.
Right. Yeah.
We need to say words. They need to have definitions. Mainstream, when you look at these numbers in just plain old album sales,
yeah.
I'm not going by influence. I'm not going by who's better, who's
or
good.
what they mean to me.
Absolutely.
Or whatever, right. Yeah.
Absolutely. I am thrilled that a band I really do like like Pink Floyd,
Pink Floyd. Yeah.
has some records that are in there. I think that's
Sure.
reflective of great talent. I also think you can get stuck in a moment. Here's an interesting one.
Yeah.
I believe he's in the top 10 for sure. He's not in the top 5, obviously. Is Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell.
No shit.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that.
It's in the top 10. Now, here's the crazy part. We were technically alive for that album, but we didn't know that one.
Right.
You and I know Meatloaf from the I'll Do Anything But Love, but I Won't Do That.
Right.
That's the second album.
Right.
By
That's
the
right.
way, didn't sell half as many as the first one.
The funny thing is that I had that second album.
Do you? Okay, but think about that. When we were alive to hear that second album being released, by the way, comes out in 93 if I remember
yeah.
correctly. Okay. This is the height of grunge,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Like, there's another one of perspective. I've touched on this, and I know you have too in other episodes we've talked about. Depending on who you are, and let's be completely honest, what you like, skin color plays into this too.
Sure.
When we talk of the 90s, it could be a completely different 90s depending on who you
Oh,
are.
dude, especially in this city,
Yes.
right? The 90s, you could either be talking about rap and hip hop.
Absolutely.
You could be talking punk.
Yes.
You could be talking metal. You could be talking music in Spanish of all varieties, right? You
And
could-
yet, what's the number one they'll always say? Oh, grunge.
grunge.
Grunge,
Yeah.
man. Grunge was everywhere, bro. Really? Because Metallica would say otherwise, at least for 1 year.
Yeah. Yep.
You know? And you just go like, I didn't, and again, big bands of the 90s, you notice I didn't say Soundgarden or Alice in Chains because I looked at their numbers and I was like, it's not even worth putting them on here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and I love both of those bands more than I love the other two that I mentioned
Sure.
of the big 4 of the grunge era.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? Like, again, if you're black and in the 90s, for the most part, it is the golden age of hip hop.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Fuck yeah, dude.
Not to say that there weren't black people listening to heavy metal or hard rock or weren't listening to grunge and stuff. I'm just simply saying, like, if you were into hip hop, you were fucking into hip hop.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
And-
weren't aware of maybe a lot of these other bands that were going around at that time.
Right.
You know, if you were, into punk, again, that punk revival that we kind of saw with, I know many of these bands would not count. I understand. I'm just simply saying something like a Green Day or a Offspring or Rancid or all these bands that were suddenly, felt like they're coming up. I will say that may be the one band that you can say Gilman got right when it came to Green Day. Because you definitely were like, yeah, they're in the top 60 greatest albums ever sold with Dookie.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you definitely got rid of at least one mainstream band for sure. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, boy, if you thought they were big on Kerplunk, whoo, boy.
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? So it's just to say, like, again, all this was to simply say, I am going to push back 100% against the idea that metal was ever mainstream. I don't think it's ever been mainstream. But I also want to reiterate, as I said before, I am not shying away. These are really great numbers, and I'm happy to see that these great artists did sell what they did and were able to maintain a career doing it without having to necessarily sell 30 million copies.
Yeah, no,
You know?
again, maybe the times made it easier to just
Maybe.
dedicate everything to music.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which this will be a different episode, but
Yeah.
like if you're speaking from experience,
Please.
if you're in the middle part of your life
Mhm.
playing music, you know you're not doing it for money
Yeah.
or sales, because at this point it's being done for the love of the game.
Absolutely.
right? Like,
Absolutely.
So it's weird to have to contextualize maybe, well, in this case, myself,
Mhm.
along with the history of all these other people who have, to a certain degree made it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
then,
yeah.
and the way that they've made it with
Right.
millions upon millions of album
Right,
sales.
right.
Meanwhile, boxes upon boxes.
But even in that sense, like, look, Slayer never sold 30 million records
No,
like
never,
Celine
yeah.
Dion.
Right.
But again, conflating album sales with success, I think, is bullshit.
Yes. I mean, there's
Obviously,
a whole.
by the way, Celine Dion is very successful. I'm not taking
course,
it.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, Slayer is successful.
Yeah.
They wouldn't trade it for anything.
Not at all.
So,
They don't become a legacy band without everything that they've done.
thank you.
Right.
So when metalheads especially yell mainstream, or when they yell they've sold out,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, by the way, so if you think of bands like a Metallica, like, boy, you were yelling sold out way too early there, Ride the Lightning guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
They deserve that a few times after the
talk
Black
about
Album.
hold my beer.
Yeah.
Like,
They were just holding each other's beers
You
in the
think
band.
Fade to Black is a sellout? Oh, wait. You know what I mean? Oh, you think the
Yeah.
Black Album's a sellout?
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Oh, wait.
You know what I mean? So,
Oh, you think Load is a sellout?
right.
Oh, wait.
Oh, just wait, you
Yeah.
know? So it is, like I said, like I said, it's just to simply say, this guy got my brain thinking about this in a way that I was like, wow. And it's not, by the way, I don't care if metal is popular. If I
Sure.
just saw the numbers and went, wow, I was wrong. Yeah, it actually was mainstream for a few years. What an idiot. I'm stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, just because MTV played some videos, by the way, at 11 o'clock at night on a Saturday,
Sure.
it wasn't mainstream.
Yeah.
They literally put it on at the twilight and said, good luck, stay up for it, I dare you.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so again, I don't care one way or the other if it is or isn't. It was just something he said, and it made me think. And when I looked into the numbers, the other things that I learned was, like I said, how interesting it was to see bands that we would call legacy bands, or bands that are pillars in the rock and metal community,
Yeah.
and how little they actually sold compared to what we think they achieved.
Oh yeah, for
You know?
sure. Yeah. We always. I mean, but then again, we're lost in the glow of our fascination of these bands.
Yes.
We.
And in our little world that feels like, well, Deep Purple must have sold 400 million copies because everybody knows that
Everyone
one
knows
song,
them, yeah.
and they play stadiums, as opposed to the little band that I go see for $20.
Right.
So they must have sold 50 million copies, right?
Yeah, you can't play that stadium unless you sold that, right?
Right.
So like, they
So
don't-
you think.
exactly, because also, what are you told when you're a band?
Yeah.
On the smaller circuit,
Right.
you bring more people, you get paid more.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
cool. So
yeah.
these bands that are playing these bigger stadiums, they must be selling amazing amounts because they bring all these fucking
One
people.
would think, right?
But
Yeah. And again, like I said, I just think I like stuff like this. It just kind of got my brain going, and there's a lot of stuff where I was like, okay, you get too many numbers.
Yeah.
It's not to get lost too much in the numbers. But it is to say, again, it's also, look, the Backstreet Boys, I believe, are in the top 10 best records ever sold.
nice.
Good for them. I'm
Sure.
happy for them. I don't think anybody goes, well, then they're obviously better than the Beatles. No. And again, I don't even think the Backstreet Boys would say they were better than the Beatles or more influential than the Beatles. You could also look at things, I've said this before on the podcast, the old saying about the Velvet Underground, right?
Right.
They weren't around for very long. There were only a handful of people that actually ever saw them play live, but every one of them started a band.
Yeah.
Well, then how much more influential might they be than maybe even the Beatles?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then another thing, I think if you ask people who's the most famous rock band of all time, most people would say the Beatles.
Sure.
I think that's fair. And yet, their albums don't appear in the top 10.
Yeah.
And they have two of them that's still success. And God knows I'd rather be a Beatle than a Five Finger Death Punch. It's just to say, like, dude, like Paul McCartney ain't hurting for money.
No.
Ringo, he's doing fine, know? So it's just to say, like, record sales are only one part of the equation when it comes to the music we love, how influential it is it worth listening to, and so on and so forth.
I think
Please.
I think too, we've always told ourselves that, like, at least people in music scenes like ours.
Yes.
Like, we've always said that to ourselves. Because at one point we have to reconcile with the fact that, like, our favorite bands aren't going to be in these limelights that these other bands are.
Right.
So we have acknowledged in the past, whether you're in punk, sludge, whatever the hell.
Yeah.
Right? Death
Yes.
metal. Like,
Yes.
I don't need Deicide to play it at the Super Bowl for me to like them.
Right.
Like, we've always said that.
Or Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, as we
Or the
pointed
Rock
out.
and Roll Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So when the argument comes up about what's mainstream or not, like, you're already losing touch with your original statement.
Great point.
Like,
Yeah.
So it's yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and you look at that, no, and again, this is no offense to Cannibal Corpse. They are the best-selling death metal band of all time. We know this.
Yeah, yeah.
It is kind of like being, the tallest man in the NBA, I guess.
NBA, on your basketball team
Right.
in the NBA. Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, you're not.
You're Manute Bol.
Yeah, it's like,
that's cool.
Yeah, you're 6 inches taller than the other guy. Like,
Right.
that's great, but it doesn't really, you know what I mean? Like, but that was never their goal.
Right.
And the fact that they never sold out to get to that, they've always been Cannibal Corpse.
Yep.
Actually is in many ways much more of an achievement than whatever amount of records
Big
they've
time.
ever sold.
Big time.
I imagine if you took all their records and combined them, it's probably 1 million records.
Yeah.
And yet, again, Mr. Corpse Grinder travels the world getting toys for kids, so he doesn't have another job.
Yeah.
So like I said, fun, interesting. Like I said, I'm not picking a fight with this guy. I'm not saying he's a bad dude. I like him. I think he has interesting perspectives, and this was one of them that kind of stuck in my head.
Yeah.
That went along with something I've been trying to figure out a way to present it, and I thought, like, this is a great way to do that and really look at these sort of things. And
Yeah, no, this was cool. It was good kind of looking at these types of numbers and knowing, for one, that I'll never reach them.
Yeah.
Secondly, that, ultimately they are not important for my enjoyment of what I like.
Not at all.
Like, that's I think, ultimately what I take away from this.
100.
Like,
Yeah.
But yeah.
how little it does interfere with what I like.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, all that.
Please.
What have you been watching?
Quite a bit. I'm trying to think of some of the ones that some older ones, but ones that we both very much love.
Yeah.
12 Monkeys.
Hell yeah.
I can't say enough about how good that movie fucking is. Brad Pitt's insane in it, literally playing insane in it, and it's just, just great performances by everybody. It's so weird that it should never have been a hit.
Right.
And yet it's so good, and I fucking love that movie. I love it. I forgot, like, it'd been so long, and they show you the end at the beginning, and you're piecing it together as he kind of is, and there's all these, great moments, and just, I love when he's just like, if you just let me make a phone call, and he calls, and the lady answers, what's up? And he's like, and then he thinks, well, I fucked up. I left it, and then he comes back. No, they got the message. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or all the scientists that you're like, oh, these must have been some of the smartest people on Earth. That's why they're in charge now, right? And then you start finding them, like, it's just a guy at the books thing. It's just another, like, they're just regular people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They weren't necessarily, like, scholars and presidents that we put in charge of the, stuff like that. Love that movie. Another one you and I both very much love, and I think someday we definitely got to do an episode on 13th Warrior.
Oh, yeah.
I fucking love
the 13th.
I don't know why that wasn't a hit. I don't know why Rotten Tomatoes fucking hates it. Fuck them. I don't care. I saw that movie on a whim on HBO a long time ago. Had no idea what it was and just thought, I don't know. Antonio Banderas and Warrior. Oh, it's fucking Viking. Okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
I was 10 minutes in. I was like, this is fucking awesome.
Yep.
Another one of those movies that I didn't know what everyone thought of it, and I don't give a fuck. I can watch that thing over and over and over again. I never tire of that movie.
It's weird. That movie has a lot of stuff happening behind the
Yes.
scenes already. Like,
Yes.
before it's even a movie.
Yes.
Unfortunately, Omar Sharif decided that was like the last one he'd ever make, which,
Gotta call it quits someday.
Yeah, you do, right? So
He still gave us
I mean-
what is it? Not Top Gear. What's the one? He's in with Val Kilmer. The God, how are we blanking on this? Not Top Gun.
no, not Top Gun. We'll get it.
We get it later, but
When we
yes.
talk about 13th
Yes.
Warrior, we'll
Yeah.
get it.
No doubt.
You know, and it kind of switched hands
Yeah.
director wise. Even honestly, I think I might have said this before. The original soundtrack to
Yeah.
the 13th Warrior,
Yeah.
fucking great. It's
Yeah.
spooky. It should have originally was supposed to be a horror movie.
Mm.
You know, it was gonna retain the title of Eaters of the Dead,
Okay.
which is the title of the book it's
Okay.
based on. Yeah, I mean, but even what we get now
Oh.
is fucking great. Even if none of it is actually factual
Oh,
or
no.
accurate, like learning a whole ass different
Yeah.
language.
Yeah.
You know,
But I love that as a way to give exposition without having to do a whole thing.
of course,
You
yeah.
feel like you're learning it with him, and it
Yeah,
makes for
yeah.
such great scenes. You know, what I
yeah,
mean?
and it's like you have to explain how this dude from the Middle East, an Arab guy,
right.
is gonna learn how to speak a Scandinavian language in whatever amount of time
Right.
like it takes to get from there to there. So like that's the best way to do it. It was funny also,
Oh,
right?
abs-
It's
there's
funny.
great parts in it. They're like, hey, little
Uh,
brother. I love when he's just like, open the gate, and they can't get it, and they can't get. And the guy sitting there goes to push it, and the other guy goes, duck, and he goes, look, oh,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he just
yeah.
jumps over him. You know, everybody in it's just killing it. I love that movie.
Yeah.
I just such a cool story, and it's just so well done.
Yeah. And
You
then
know?
the dude that plays ultimately Beowulf,
Yes.
Bullywolf,
Yes.
what a fucking presence.
Oh, dude.
I always thought he would make a great Conan. the
Oh, for
Barbarian.
sure. I just love that each one of them feels like their own guy.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Even though they're part of this group, you can pick them out.
Right.
You know what
right,
I mean?
Yeah.
And they'll have their own little specialty and all that. You know what I mean? It's so, I love it. I love it.
Apparently, like each one of those also is somewhat reminiscent of like what the Rus, the ultimate, like the Russians would have been,
Yes.
the Denmark guy,
Yes.
the Norwegian, the Swedish
Right.
guy, right? So there's like the Celtic dude also with the bands on his nose and stuff. like,
Yes.
like,
That's
that's
what-
all cool shit.
It really is, man. And just I love the idea of like, these are the baddest motherfuckers on the planet,
Yeah.
essentially,
Yeah.
right? And they bring in this guy because the witch makes them.
Right.
And they are facing a thing that they are truly like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Until they realize, wait a minute, they bleed.
yeah.
Then
Yep.
we can kill them.
Yep.
You know, and it's like, it doesn't say that. I know it doesn't say that, but, you know, as a predator does. But at the same time, like, you
and also Batman.
yeah, but you get that sense. They realize, like, well, if it can bleed, then we can kill these fucking
Yep,
things. They're
yep.
not mythical.
Right.
Then and we're fucking badasses. Let's do this shit.
Yeah.
You know, I love it. I love
Yeah,
that.
That's an awesome movie.
The rest of them would have been newer stuff. One that was it had promise. It's called Operation Fortune. It's a Guy Ritchie movie.
Okay.
I like most of what he does. It's got Statham in it, Audrey Plaza's in it, Josh Hartnett, and Hugh Grant.
Wow.
It's like a spy movie that essentially Hugh Grant is going to sell something to somebody that, you know, they got to get back, and, you know, Statham is a spy that works for the British government, but he's like a different kind of spy. I don't know. It was a little convoluted, and Audrey Plaza is like a CIA, so she's working with them. Carrie Elways is in it.
Oh, nice.
It had moments that were really fun and cool, and that Guy Ritchie feel, but just, you know, it was fun, but it just, I was bummed because I was kind of like, okay, you got me, Guy Ritchie, Statham, Audrey Plaza, I'm in. You know what I mean? And just kind of, oh well. Another one that we rented these ones because I did not want to wait. We saw Long Walk. That's the one Mark Hamill based on
Right,
the
yeah.
Stephen King. It's funny because I see it advertised as like, oh man, the saddest ending of all time. Well, the ending did nothing for me, quite frankly. But the story was good. I liked it. I very much enjoyed it. I thought it was an interesting take, an interesting like story in general. You know, those are ones that I like because it's kind of like, what would I do? You know
Right.
what I mean? If I'm in
Yeah.
that situation, which number one, I would not volunteer for that shit. That would be the number one thing. So the movie would be over in 2 seconds. But you know, just the part where it's like, you got to stay, I think it's like 3.2 miles an hour walking. Anything that happens, you get 3 warnings. And on the third one, they kill you.
Okay.
You know, and it's a dystopian future in which Mark Hamill's has taken over the government militarily. And, you know, you are finding out about these men every year, 52 people, 50 people representing one person from each state make this walk.
Okay.
You just walk until the last person is standing.
Is this kind of like a Americanized Squid Game premise, kind of?
I mean, it would have been before Squid Game. That's the crazy part. I mean, this is an old story from.
Right, no, I know
I believe it's when he's Bachman. I don't think it's even Stephen King.
Right. Yeah.
You know, but yeah, it has that sense. I mean, it's not many games. It's the idea. Excuse me. Is Mark Hamill? Apparently, there's been like a civil war in the country. This is after it now. He is in charge, and power is the only way he can kind of keep it. So he uses this as propaganda to be kind of like, do you see the sacrifice the men make in this world for us and what they do? Because if you win, you get one wish. Whatever it is, you get it. Period. End of story. And every year they do this.
Okay.
But in the meantime, if you have certain books, certain art, you can be taken away by the government. It's a little Fahrenheit 451. There's a little, you know what I mean? It's not the most original story. The original part is the idea of these kids are on this walk, so you get to learn about the kids and you get to see what the motivations for what they're doing this are for, and so on and so forth.
Right.
And you know, and again, for a rental, I enjoyed it. It was something I was kind of looking forward to. Again, the ending was a little, I hear it's much different than the book in that way too,
Sure.
which makes sense. Whatever, everybody's gonna put their spin. The other one I rented and did not disappoint because none of them have was the final Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning 2. Fucking great. I mean, I love those movies. I can watch them a million times over. So good. These last two have been a little convoluted in some of the story where like, I'm not sure I'm following all the way, but definitely touching on a little kind of the AI part of it. There's the entity that is now taken over. It formulates all your moves, and so I got to make a move that I shouldn't make, and I got to do a thing that it would never know I made. You know what I mean? All this kind of thing.
I gotta go against myself
Right.
to beat that.
Exactly. Maybe I shouldn't jump off a plane this time. I'll do another, whatever,
Yeah.
Whatever stunt, Mr. Cruise has decided to do at 65 years old,
Right.
Again, the action is amazing in it. The story was really cool. And you had things, like I said, they are, let's be completely honest, they're modern day James Bond movies at this point. They've taken over
Sure.
the Bond movie in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? And I just thoroughly enjoy them. Always have a good time watching them. Let's see, what else? Oh, they another podcast that I listened to did an episode on it. So any excuse, Sicario.
Oh hell yeah!
Just
Great movie. Yeah.
It's an amazing film. That whole border scene where they're crossing. Maybe one of the best moments in cinema history, definitely in the top 5.
Yeah.
It's so intense. And
That's a good one. Yeah.
I love that fucking movie. A couple other new ones. War Machine just came out. It's the guy who's the Jack Reacher in the TV shows.
Oh, the big dude.
Yeah, big blonde kid. Alan Richman is his name. Dennis Quaid's in it. Isai Morales also in it. Essentially, he is a guy trying to become an Army Ranger. He makes the final class. They go out to do their kind of mission, their death mission. The death marches they call it. So you do the mission and you make it back. You become an Army Ranger. In the meantime, there's a meteor that is flying over the Earth and releases these robot alien things.
Right.
Yeah, and he's got to fight it. This is not Citizen Kane, anybody, but it is a very fun watch. Good special effects. If you love action, it harkens back. I've said this many times about these kind of movies. The movies you and I were growing up on HBO Friday night, they didn't have to be fucking the greatest action films. It was just really cool action films and watching, big guys kick the shit out of stuff. You know what I mean? And for that, it was everything I would ask for.
Nice.
Speaking of big guys beating the shit out of stuff, I saw 2 Batista movies that have, one's a little older, one's pretty new. The first one was called Trap House. Wow, bad. It's like if Martin Scorsese directed The Goonies. Essentially, he is a DEA agent in like San Antonio that is taking out Mexican cartel trap houses and stuff like that. Their kids, this whole team is like a team, and their kids are like another team. Well, one of the kids' dad dies, and then they have to move away. So his son says, well, what if we start robbing trap houses and we can get enough money to bring our friend back?
Huh.
Yeah, with non-lethal weapons because we don't want to kill anybody. Yeah, because the Mexican cartel totally would be down for that.
Yeah.
It was a horrible premise, and it was just really, really stupid. On the other hand, I watched another one with him called Final Score. It's an older one. You can see he's still the big Batista. He hasn't lost the weight yet.
Right.
This had some Pierce Brosnan and the late, great Ray Stevenson.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
He's awesome. Yeah.
This would be, as we've talked about in our action film, Die Hard changed everything where that became a pitch. This is Die Hard in a English soccer stadium.
Nice.
He essentially is an ex-soldier who somehow was working with a British guy. I'm not really understanding how that happens, but either way, maybe they were like doing, like Black Rock shit or whatever.
Yeah.
He dies, so he comes to England every now and again to check on the family, and the daughter, she's at an age now where she's like a teenager. They go to the soccer game. What they don't know is this soccer game is being taken over by, I'm not quite sure what Eastern Bloc country Ray Stevenson and his group are supposedly from,
Oh.
but they are there to try to find his brother who was the head of the revolution in their country and now has escaped, and they're there to take over the soccer stadium and essentially like, if you don't give us my brother, I'll blow the fucking place up and kill everybody in it. And of course Batista's like, well, I can't let you do that because I gotta save this one girl.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah. Again, it was fun. Lots of good action. Batista kicked it. The only thing I think it is funny is one of the great parts that we all know about Die Hard was that one of the big changes was he was an everyman. As opposed to Schwarzenegger or Stallone that looked like they could take on a brick building, no problem.
Right.
He was an everyman. They're trying to do this with Batista in this movie, but you're still like,
I mean, if it's Big Batista, it's like, what are you?
what everyman? You know
Right,
what I mean?
right.
Like he's kind of getting his ass whooped more than a few times, and you're like, really?
I do. Going back to the Schwarzenegger
Please.
thing, I do like how, like, in other movies, both he and Stallone, when they were portrayed as the everyman,
Yeah.
the John Spartans
Yeah.
of the world,
Yeah.
or the fucking whatever his name was in Running Man,
Yes.
where he's just a
regular old soldier.
a regular cop who flies a helicopter, right?
And can be incognito once he's escaped prison.
Exactly.
It's one of my favorite ones. It's like the Superman thing. It's like every guy they've ever picked to be Superman literally would probably stop traffic or any room he walks into. Everybody goes, who is that fucking
Yeah,
hunk?
especially if it's Henry Cavill too.
Absolutely.
Right.
But somehow puts glasses on and everybody goes, fuck that guy.
Yeah, like,
You know what I mean?
I'm
It's
sorry,
like-
can you get Superman back, buddy?
Right? Like,
Hey, dork, get Superman back.
I don't care if he hasn't bathed for a week. Have you seen
Yeah,
Henry Cavill?
yeah.
My God, man. So, yeah. But again, the beauty of movies.
Hey.
Let me see. Yeah, that's it. That's pretty much what I've been watching. I have actually started watching again the Grand Tour that used to be Top Gear, and then they brought it to Amazon. Going back and watching some of those because those are really fun. And I am actually probably going to start tomorrow. The wife was very excited. I have decided I'm going to go back and watch the first season of True Detective.
Oh, nice.
I haven't seen that in a while. Oh, last thing I watched. I do recommend it. I think it is good. I know they have been hit and miss with these things. I can't remember the name of it now. I should have wrote it down. The new Game of Thrones.
Oh, the Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
There we go.
Yeah.
I have to say, very much enjoyed it. I expected very little, didn't know what to expect. Quite frankly, the only thing I would have against it is I don't know the lore so much. I'm sure there's 50 parts in every episode where the average Game of Thrones nerd would lose their fucking minds when they said a name. Where I was like, am I supposed to know who that is? I have no fucking idea. But the beauty was you could enjoy it even if you don't know those things.
I admit it. I do like listening to like the lore podcasts or videos.
I will tune in to kind of better understand. There's no doubt about it. I'm just saying, as I'm watching it, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But like for me, I like just taking in the lore stuff more than the shows because I
gotcha.
started that one as well, and I much like with House of the Dragon. I was like, oh my god, this is. At one point for me, it's just like, just finish the fucking books and
well,
like and let's forget the TV shows and the Broadway plays and all this shit.
Look,
know.
they're throwing money at him.
I get it.
The
I'm
problem
like,
too
really-
is just the part where it's just like, I'm supposed to get excited because it's like, oh, he's working with them. Well, wasn't he working with the dragon people and they got pissed off?
Exactly.
Like, for
Yeah.
all I know, in another season, he's going to be bad at these guys, and now it's all going to go, like, I don't,
Yeah.
But I was like, I thought it was good. The half-hour thing was really cool. The battle that he actually does, the way they did, like, a POV on that, I thought was really, really cool, super intense. Like I said, I enjoyed it. The one thing for me is just, like I said, I'm sure there's 60 times in an episode you're supposed to go, oh, my God. And I'm like, what? I don't,
Yeah.
And by the way, these incestuous dragon fuckers that name their every kid the same fucking name is
Yeah.
another one where I don't know why. Am I supposed to be excited? Is this the Aegon that we're all supposed to know? I don't know.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to know these things,
Yeah.
But all in all, I very much enjoyed it. But other than that, how about yourself? What have you been...
Honestly, not much.
Okay.
Because after the drama directors,
Yeah.
I was kind of wiped.
I hear you.
Still on the 30 Rock rewatch.
Oh, nice. Always good.
So that's a good one
Always.
to kind of break up whatever. Only 2 movies this
Okay.
time. One of them is called If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You.
Yes.
Great movie, first
Yeah?
of all.
Okay.
It's listed as a psychological comedy, which, all right.
Yeah.
It's very stress-inducing,
Mhm.
very anxiety-inducing.
That,
But it's also like the way the main character, the woman
Mhm.
in the she's a therapist.
okay.
It's almost just like a way she handles and can't handle situations in
Okay,
her life. You
okay.
know, Conan O'Brien is in it. He's a therapist in it.
Oh,
It's really
interesting.
funny because he's like half hooking up with the Rose Byrne. Is
Yeah,
the
she's great.
main actress. It's cool because then there's a child involved, the husband, and a willing neighbor who all get kind of caught up in her non-handling of situations.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's just honestly, it's not necessarily a realistic look at how anxiety and stress hit you, but
Okay.
it's how this person kind of dealt with it or didn't deal with it.
I think she even she's won something for that, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think for this.
Yeah,
movie,
it was one of those ones where I remember seeing the preview and going, I'm sure this is good. It just doesn't feel like an Aaron movie.
Oh, I
Maybe I'll give
I
it a
love
shot.
stuff like this
All
because
right.
it's, I don't know, like I get caught up in some of the other stuff that I watch, and I'm just like,
it's nice to go trying something new. I don't
yeah.
disagree, and I've heard good things about this movie.
It's a really good movie. I definitely recommend it. You know, it's pretty quick, like an hour and 40 minutes.
yeah,
or
it's
something.
essentially like a little indie film.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But it's cool. It's a
Right
good
on.
watch. The other one was a little bit more emotional to
Mhm.
get through. It's called Sorry Baby.
Yeah. I've
I
heard it. Yeah.
really liked this movie.
Yeah, that's another one where I go like, I'm sure this is good, but this is not for Aaron.
I honestly, I think it's a good watch. It's she's a professor
Right.
who, as the story goes, spoiler alert for everyone
Mm.
listening, she does get sexually assaulted
Mhm.
by like one of the higher ups that she's trying to get a job
Right.
with through or whatever. The scene itself isn't portrayed like you would think.
I got you.
It's actually a pretty stark imagery if one were able to look at it. I wasn't, but just the description of it
I feel you.
was intense
I gotcha.
because when it happens, they don't show you the incident. They just show you the outside of the house,
Mm.
and the time changes
Mm.
outside. And then she leaves, and we find out,
Mm.
you know, that this thing happened to her. And that alone is, you know, just the weight of that,
Sure,
of not
sure.
knowing, and then of all this pressure on her,
Right.
dealing with this. It's sad. It's really sad.
Yeah,
you know?
again, one of these ones I as you know, I like to watch previews all the time, and I've been seeing this one, and it's been getting a lot of buzz.
Yeah,
People are
it's
saying great
really
performances,
good,
really
yeah.
good movie, so forth.
Yeah, and then the title kind of comes into play because at the end, I forget if it's her friend or a family member, but it's a friend. Her best friend actually
Right.
is, has a child,
Right.
and she has this kind of little discussion with the child where she kind of tells the baby, it's a baby girl,
Mhm.
like, sorry that you're gonna unfortunately go through things that are gonna be horrible for you.
Right.
and I'll be here to help you along the way. And if you need somebody to talk to, I'm here. But that's basically where the title comes from.
I
like,
gotcha.
Sorry Baby, right? Because she's talking to a little kid at the end.
Hmm.
It's a really deep movie. It's very touching. It's I don't know. It's just very mental. Like
Yeah, no, it definitely is not. Yeah, it's not an action-packed thriller.
right.
or
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
like
And
that.
I
This is much about emotions and drama and so
yeah,
forth.
yeah. And I really did enjoy both of these, but
Right
I
on.
think Sorry Baby was the one that kind of reset everything that I'd been watching.
Right
all
on.
the other stuff for the last episode and stuff like that. So I did kind of enjoy that. That I got to enjoy these two that were a little bit more quieter, as it were.
I gotcha.
A little bit more soft spoken.
Yeah.
As far as the acting and
For
everything.
sure. Yeah,
Not
yeah.
so much the topics.
No. But
right?
yeah. These aren't over. There's not explosions and
Yeah,
aliens showing
yeah.
up or anything. Yes, yes. Both of them on HBO, by the way. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, actually, one other thing that I started that premiered Sunday was the DTF St. Louis. Have you seen the commercials for this?
No.
So this is Jason Bateman and Harbor from.
Oh yes, Amy
Stranger
wants to
Things?
watch this. Yeah.
I have to say, the first episode, I'm in. It's very interesting. It's very dark, very weird, but like funny in some weird places. I'm always down for Bateman. I like Harbor. The other one that's in it is the woman that plays the wife. She's the one that played Velma. That's as much as I know. She played-
We were talking.
yeah,
about
we were talking.
her.
She
Yeah,
plays Velma in the Scooby Doo movies.
Right. Right.
But there's like 4 or 5 other people that you're like, oh, I've seen that. That person. Okay.
There's only like one episode out right now.
Only one episode, yes,
Yeah.
but it sets up the whole thing. Is essentially they become buddies. Harbor's sex life with his wife isn't what he wants it to be. I think we are to assume, even though we haven't got there yet, that Bateman has the hots for Harbor's wife, and he's like, hey, they got this site called Down to Fuck St. Louis, and maybe we should get on there, and our sex lives can be a little crazier. And at the end, essentially, this is one of those ones where you start at the end, essentially, because towards the middle of the episode, you find out Harbor has been murdered.
Oh, okay.
And they don't, they're investigating it, and most signs point to Bateman.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not gonna watch that first episode now that I.
Well, I think it's worth it because it's so there's a weirdness to it
Sure.
and a darkness that's kind of it's a dark comedy in that way. So yeah, I'm interested to see where we go from here, to
Cool.
say the least. So yeah, that's one. For
Maybe
sure.
we wanted to watch that, but we figured we'd let it stack up before we started.
Been there, done that. We did. That's what ultimately we did with the Game of Thrones one,
Yeah.
and it worked out better because those things were only half hour, so it was perfect.
Nice. What have you been listening to?
To be honest, I've been going backwards more than anything brand new. One that definitely I felt the need to do. For those who may not know, Bob Power passed away. He was an engineer, very formative engineer in hip hop. The 2 biggest albums doing Low End Theory and Midnight Marauders with A Tribe Called Quest.
Right.
Instrumental, no pun intended, in changing the way hip hop was produced and engineered. He would tell you, I saw in interviews, my job was to take out the noise. Sampling at that point was very difficult. They didn't have the machines they had now. Certainly, we didn't have computers and stuff like that you could really use. So, as he pointed out, normally you'd find one sample. That was pretty much your own sample for the entire song.
Right.
Trying to fit them in and take chunks. The thing I also love about it is this is a guy that I don't know what his relationship was to hip hop prior to working with hip hop, but I think when you listen to him, it's definitely this thing where he saw it as this new thing that was out, and he wanted to be a part of it. And if he could help make it better in some ways, he wanted to do that. You know what I mean? And God knows the Tribe Called Quest guys certainly were all over, how amazing he was, giving him tons of props. But it wasn't just him, like DJ Jazzy Jeff. I saw people from other rap groups that were producers were like, Jay-Z had one of his producers was like, I cannot tell you how much this guy influenced me and changed the way I did sampling and so on and so forth. Just changed the sound of production on a rap album, and just kind of a behind the scenes guy. Although Tribe Called Quest does call him out in a couple songs every now and again. You know, he passed. He was 73, so that made me go like, I want to go back and listen. You know, other albums too. He did The Roots. He did an album with D'Angelo. He did stuff with Erykah Badu. So you know, he was all over the place. But his biggest ones are probably the ones he did with Tribe Called Quest. And again, kind of changed the way hip hop was produced.
Yeah.
So that led me down. Nothing wrong with going back to those albums. There's pretty fucking great albums, I'll be honest with you. I went on a little bit of a Waylon Jennings thing. One of those algorithms started showing me some live stuff, and I was like, well, fuck it. That's any good excuse to go back and listen to some more Waylon. Went on a big Gangstar hole. I fucking love Gangstar. They're just one of my all-time favorites. My boy Boldy James, again, it's only February, but needs to put out another album. Or I guess March. This time, actually, I very much liked it. He does a called Manhunt with another rapper. I like some of his stuff called Rome Streets. Fantastic. I feel it really plays to both of their strengths. Very much enjoyed them. I listened to all the ones that you recommended on the last episode, but one of the ones that stuck out, and now of course I'm forgetting their name, starts with a S. Sorcerer.
Oh yeah, Sorcerer. Yeah,
fantastic.
The French hardcore band.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic, solid album.
Yeah.
On one of the songs, I noticed it said Bloodlet, and I was like, "What does that mean?" And I looked; it's a different band.
Yeah.
I guess they're playing on one of the songs with them. So I was like, "Oh, well," or excuse me, Glassbone. So I was like,
right.
"Oh, well, what do they sound like?" Holy shit!
Yeah,
Or at least the EP
Glassbone's cool. Yeah.
I listened to, the one I sent you, Ruthless Savagery.
Yeah.
Fucking A, properly titled. My God,
That's a
it was
good one.
good.
Yeah.
As I told you when I sent it to you, I saw the picture and the guy was wearing a Deicide sweatshirt, and I thought, okay, we're in good hands.
Yeah.
And he did not let me down, to say the least. A couple other newer ones to me that I found. A band called Pale Horse. Their album Looking Wet in Public. They're from the UK. I feel like I'm cheating by saying they sound like Indian, but that would definitely be one of the bands.
Okay.
But I also feel like not a bad at all. No.
Yeah.
But I also feel like their kind of sludge, at least on that album, also maybe leans a little harder into kind of post-hardcore.
Okay.
So that kind of had a feel in a few songs here and there. Very enjoyable album.
Nice.
Like I said, it's Looking Wet in Public. Another one that I think it came up, if I remember correctly, one of the algorithms that was like, you know, somebody doing hey, if you like this band, you may also. And they were described as kind of neurosis-ish. Well, I was like, okay, I'm in. Band called Breach. I believe they're from France. Breach. Yeah, never heard of them. The two albums I listened to, Collapse and It's Me God. Very much experimental in certain way. I see why Neurosis would be something that they would point to, but they don't sound like Neurosis necessarily.
Okay.
But it's clear they are a post-hardcore band that wants to incorporate other things like ambient and maybe even rock, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. The Collapse is a later album for them, so they're definitely way more experimental. But that first one, It's Me God, I believe is their first album. Really enjoyed that.
All right.
Yeah, I thought they were really cool. And it came in the mail, so I finally listened to it again because I didn't want to listen to it till I got my copy, which was the last Ulver album, Neverland.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I love it. I was actually playing it out loud, and my wife was like, "Who is this?" And I was like, "Ulver." She's like, I like this. And I was like, I'm not surprised. And then she's like, I told her, let me make you a playlist. I was like, because if I just say Ulver, you're going to experience certain things that you may, or it'll just be so you're going to get Julius Caesar doesn't sound anything like fucking, the Five Tales of the Wolf, let alone Neverland. You know what I mean?
You're going to get Nathan's Madrigal or something.
Which actually, I said that, and she was like, well, what do you mean? And I said, so I played it for her, and she was like, well, I don't mind that. And I was like, okay. First of all, I'm hard. And it's just like, great. But I was like, let me just put together ones that I love, because the Ulver I love is the Neverland style. It's not the Julius Caesar style. Gotcha. I don't particularly like that Ulver, but Ulver is, as I said with like Mad Lib on the last episode, that's what I love about Ulver. is
Yeah.
that they are so all over. There may be albums I don't like. Who cares?
Yeah,
when
and
they
that's
do the stuff I love, I'm there for it. Like
one
in
of
Neverland.
one of the things too is I know this can be said about any band,
Uh-huh.
but Ulver doing all these changes, this is still like 100% Ulver.
Oh,
right? So,
absolutely.
like,
Yeah.
they can be considered one of those like consistently true
For
to themselves.
sure.
Right.
Yes. Like it is weird that they can do Julius Caesar and then they can do Neverland and you still know it's Ulver.
Right. Right.
Even though neither one sounds exactly like the other.
Right.
You know? And I think with Neverland 2 gave me hints of some of my all-time favorite ones from them, like Touch of Melancholy,
Yeah.
a little bit of Blood Inside, and then now of course I'm blanking. That's my favorite, and I don't know the name. But yeah, one of their earlier albums that I love that. It was much darker.
Perdition City.
Perdition City. There it
Yeah.
is. That's the other one it gave me, kind of reminded me of. But as always, moving forward.
Right.
You know,
Yep.
I,
For sure.
Ulver's just one of the greats.
Yeah, I love them.
Last one is actually not new, but in any way, but it is going to be something that I am going to try to go down and maybe tackle some of, but my God, it will be no way, shape, or form can I tackle all of it. And that is the amazing Sun Ra.
Ooh, I love Sun Ra. Yeah. hell
And
yeah.
it's one of those ones I have explored some of his stuff prior. Some of it, I think, when I did, it was just I was not ready.
Yeah.
You know? I watched a thing where a guy was kind of talking about him and recognized that this album, the one that I had checked out, the Nubians of Plutonia,
Yeah. Yeah.
saying like that's kind of the first real Afrocentric kind of experimental jazz albums. Not the first, but he's definitely pushing a boundary that hasn't quite been pushed by everyone else.
Yeah.
So I checked that out, and I was really digging it. Then I realized a couple days ago, and I watched it today actually, PBS just did a American Masters on him. So I watched that. That was very interesting to say the least. I was also lucky enough to go, okay, the man has over 100 fucking albums. Like, where the hell do I even start with this shit? You know what I mean? Let alone the one album that I'm, okay, cool. So I did the thing. I just type into Google Sun Ra, where to start. Well, somebody did a Reddit thing saying the same fucking thing. And the person, I love the post. It just said, he broke it down into years. And it was like hard bop, bebop. Then the next few years, things are starting to get weird, but not too weird. Now things are really weird. Next one, what the hell's going on? You know, they just kind of in these years, and it's just like, okay, cool. Now I know. And then somebody else did go, he is 100% right in his full timeline, but here are 5 albums I would recommend throughout the, boom. Immediately went to Spotify and threw those on. So, yeah, the next time we discuss, I hope to have a couple under my belt that I have explored a little further into Sun Ra.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I just, again, I do like jazz. I'm not always the most experimental jazz guy. I prefer more of the hard bop, bebop stuff. But he's just one of those guys where you just go like, I should at least try to explore some of what he's doing. And the documentary was very cool just to kind of learn so much about what a singular individual in every sense of the word, you know.
For sure.
I do love they played where it was just like, no. I wasn't born on Saturn. I said I'm from Saturn, which I thought, wow. And for all intent and purposes, everybody they talk to is like, it's not an act. That's who he is.
Yeah.
Like, he truly believes this stuff. And I love just the idea. Like, he believed his music could change the world. He wanted to bring people together, peace, love, and harmony, and he really believed he was on in a way, on a mission from God to,
a mission
help
from Saturn.
somebody, to change everything. The other thing I always thought was neat was he actually was the musical guest, I think, the first year of Saturday Night Live, one of the episodes, which is so weird to think about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But also shows you, once again, kind of go with our original theme, how the times change in a way like bringing on Sun Ra was a avant-garde, look how hip and cool we are for 1970s SNL.
Yeah.
Where now they bring on acts that, yes, old men like us go, who the fuck is this? I never heard of him. And he's like, yeah, but they're the new revolutionary, or at least seen as that,
Yeah,
So, yeah.
I'm not a big jazz guy, as you know.
Yeah.
But Sun Ra is one that I learned how to appreciate at an early age. one of my music teachers in junior high
Right on.
was like I don't care what you're into, you need to listen to this, and it was cool. It was cool because it was weird.
Oh, it's very I mean, just again, the thing I was mainly blown away by, at least in here. It's like, oh no, you don't have to get the weird Sun Ra. You can find hard bop and bebop Sun Ra. You can find big band Sun Ra.
Yep.
Like, he's all over the map. It doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, so you really can find your era of him if
Right.
you really want to.
Yeah.
Or you can explore what most people probably associate with what is Sun Ra. Good luck. Have fun.
Yeah,
Hope you make
yeah.
it back. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's going to be my next one. I want to try to dive a little bit
Nice.
more into him.
That's
so,
a cool one.
Yeah. How about yourself?
A lot of punk, as
Right on.
per usual. Album titles are, a lot of these are EPs.
Okay.
Also, there's a band called the Raspberry Bulbs.
Oh, yes. I know the name.
Fucking great, kind of like hardcore punk band.
Which totally gives it away when you say Raspberry Bulbs. You're like, oh, well, obviously a hardcore punk band.
Obviously, right?
Yeah.
The Varukers, Anti-Cymex. A lot of these are like the older kind of hardcore punk
Right on.
/ D-beat or crust.
Okay.
Old Conflict, which was another one. The band that I mentioned before all this, Ancient Death, was probably one of the newer ones.
Okay.
And I think I might have mentioned them before. Out of New York, upstate New York, there was a death metal band called Baphomet.
Okay.
I think I might have mentioned them before once.
Sounds
but
right.
They put out one album, and it is a snapshot of that time frame,
Uh-huh.
but it's such a good fucking album. Baphomet is the name of the band. Then there is Ripping Corpse,
Right on.
which I don't know if you know about Ripping Corpse.
Mm.
Homeboy Rutan who's in Ripping Corpse.
Oh, okay.
So it's like death metal-y, old death metal, but the singer has kind of a hardcore punk approach to his style.
Mm.
So the music it's a mixture between deathy hardcore punk almost. Not necessarily what you'd expect from a person like, what the fuck is his name? Eric Rutan?
Uh-huh.
Not something necessarily you'd expect from him, but it's fun and it's
Okay.
really good. It's really heavy, really noodly at some points, so it's cool. It's really cool. Ripping Corpse was that one.
Because I was almost sure of this, and turns out I was right. Yes, the Baphomet, the reason I know them is because I have their album when they changed their name
They did change
to
the name.
Banished,
Yeah, Banished. Yeah.
and the album Deliver Me Unto Pain,
Yeah. So
which is like a death metal record that also feels like hardcore guys doing a death metal record,
yeah, Banished.
especially New York style.
Yeah. So Baphomet, like the
Yeah.
death metal version of that, I
Yeah.
guess. I found on one of the YouTube death metal channels
Okay.
that I subscribe to, and again, what a fucking album! I might put it on my want list at some point,
Right on.
but I'm okay with listening to it on YouTube. Another band called The Swirlies, which don't let the name get you. They have a fucking album which is really weird. It's noisy noise rock.
Okay.
Kind of post-punkish, but like really aggressive
Okay.
and really weird also.
All right.
Like it's good, The Swirly. I wish I fucking remembered all these
No, Swirlies.
album names. But Swirlies is like that. It was sent to me and I was like, I don't know what to make of this right now.
Interesting. Okay.
That plus I've been listening to a lot of Slayer demos.
Oh yes, I still haven't got to those. Probably tomorrow.
Yeah, especially the one that I've been talking about the most when they signed to American Def Jam.
Mm-hmm.
That demo alone is fucking cool. Like it is really cool.
I'm definitely interested in checking it out.
It's the ferocity of Slayer in the mid to late 80s,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like, God damn, man, you could tell that they want this at that point. Like they're just like, and it's like again the classic lineup: Lombardo and Hanneman, King and Araya. So
Fuck yeah.
So yeah, it's like the good parts,
Yeah, no, I mean, again, our love for Slayer
is
knows no bounds.
unmatched.
Yes.
Yeah, but that was pretty much it.
Right on.
Not too much stuff.
Okay.
Been kind of a slow weekend for me.
Yeah, I certainly, again, these algorithms too. I think I listened to something that was like must have been like post-punk kind of gothy.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Last FM, like, it was almost like they were like, finally, listen to something new. You know, and they were just like, here's 50 bands. And I'm like, all right, I'll check them out.
Yeah.
Well, then, of course, if I listen to them, then they're like, oh, good. Well, here's 50 more. And it's like,
Right,
I didn't like any of them. I don't.
Oh, I'm lying. I did have 3 other albums.
Oh, okay.
The new Converge
Oh, okay.
album,
Right on.
Love Is Not Enough, which fucking great.
Okay.
Converge I love Converge. It's one of those bands that, like, every album, the more they mature, the more better they are.
Oh, right on.
musically.
Okay.
The new Fossilization album, Advent of Wounds.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, fucking Fossilization.
Yeah.
They're
No.
fucking great. They're
That's
awesome.
that's
heavy
2
as
albums
shit.
in a row. They're like, goddamn.
Yeah. Right. And then I am a big fan. The new Mayhem album, Liturgies of Death.
Oh, okay.
That one's cool. The first song has what's his face, Garm from Over.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so he's on that one.
Nice.
You know,
Doing
I think vocals he's on there.
well, but I mean, not black metal style vocals, right? Or is it singing?
honestly, I think he's singing because Attila does sing
Okay.
on a lot of these songs.
Okay.
Yeah. But the whole album is fucking sick. It's it's not as experimental as some of the previous Mayhem
Okay.
albums have been. This one's, I wouldn't call it straightforward black metal either, but
Okay.
it's
Well,
a good balance of the
I
two.
don't think anything Attila does is straightforward. So.
Well, aside from being straightforward, weird,
Yeah.
or whatever. But yeah, the new Mayhem album is
Right
really
on.
good. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So some oldies, some new.
Yeah, it's always a good mix. That's how I like to do it, man.
Some
You know?
oldies and some moldies. Yeah. So, folks, let us know what you think, especially about the what's popular / mainstream.
Yeah.
I'm sure that your opinions will differ from ours, as much as ours differed from the Heavy Metal Philosophy podcast.
Absolutely.
But
Perspective is everything.
perspective is everything. Context is everything.
Yes.
Don't get stuck in moments of time.
Yes.
And be cool. And we'll check you out soon.
Later.
Howdy, folks. Thank you so much for spending time with us here at the Rehearsal Room. If you've got any recommendations you'd like for us to check out, whether it's a band, a movie, or anything else you think we'd be interested in, you can write to us at therehearsalroompod@gmail.com, all one word. We're also over on Instagram or Facebook, or even YouTube. You can also find us on any of the popular platforms for podcasts. And if you happen to know anybody that would be interested in any of the subjects we're talking about, please make sure to refer this show over to them. Make sure to like and subscribe wherever you listen to us, and we'll catch you soon.